Greetings and salutations, guys. Welcome back to Stoffel Presents. This is our latest series of interviews, and I think it's going to be a really good one today. We have Mr. S.L Perrin with us,
Perrin.
illustrious author, Steve Perrin, as you can see here, we have his works on show. Although this is kind of I've got a little editing thing here because we'll get into later how Steve picks up on editing. This isn't all of Steve's books. Doom is missing from here. The complete history of Doom because it's in my office at work. And
that you got signed by John Romero.
I got signed by John Romero and Steve Penn. I have the video evidence to authenticate it as well. And I think I'm probably one of the only people in the world that has 4 different copies of Microbrits. Because I've got the original one, and then the new Master System one that you did. So all the books are standardised now. Then I've got the second
the intermediate.
Cover. Yeah, and then I've got the printing mistake cover.
Yeah.
So that was the printing mistake one there, isn't it? Because there's no gap between the L and P.
Yeah. Even I haven't got that one, so.
Oh wow, that is a rare one then.
I think that's the only copy.
Oh, that's fantastic. I'm looking at. I've got like 2 copies of 66 of the most important video games as well here.
I don't know why.
I don't know why I've got 2 copies, but they're both signed.
Right, I don't know.
But
maybe I didn't send you a few of them. I sent you like 6 or 7
you sent
copies.
me a few to give out, and when I was streaming, and I'm wondering if I didn't give them all away.
Yeah, probably, yeah.
Because I've got one here this one's signed by you,
right?
And then this one is signed, but to me.
Yeah, oh yeah, your personal one.
So that's my personal one. I think I might not have given it away. I think I stopped. Yeah, because it was causing a lot of fights in my stream with that one, but we'll get to that later. But yeah, first of all, thanks for joining us, Steve.
All right, it's good to be here.
I was half expecting you to be in your Lucky Travel t-shirt tonight.
I did think about wearing it.
I knew it.
I swapped at the last minute.
So let's start with, right, so you've wrote quite a lot of books here, but quite a lot of different topics, like mainly gaming, but you branched out a little bit just with some of them. What made you become an author in the first place? What started it?
I don't know, really. I've always liked writing, but I've never thought about doing anything with it. And then I started doing my blog. And then from my blog, I just started, I sat down and thought, can I write a book? So I tried, and I did. Literally, just why not?
Yeah, just like this. I think that's the thing as well, because it's you self-published, aren't you, on Amazon? So your links are on Amazon.
Yeah.
And I think it's that thing where in the past you've got to write a book, then you've got to like haul yourself out to publishers and hope someone picks it up and does it. And now with today's technology, I can just got a PC at home, I can write, and then I can just put it on Amazon, and
anyone can do it nowadays, and you cut out a lot of the middlemen. So why not give it a go?
The way I understand it as well, I've not published myself on Amazon, but there's no setup costs, is there? It's just do they print each book as it's ordered and take a cut off you?
Yeah. The problem with doing it this way is that it's more expensive. If you get a load printed in bulk, it's obviously cheaper. Mm-hmm. So the print cost is higher because you print into order. But but there's no upfront cost now, so it's not as if I've got thousands of books that I need to sell.
They're not all stuck under bed. It's not sold.
No, they just print them to order. So it swings and roundabouts really with self-publishing.
Yeah, but it seems to be quite successful. You've shifted a few copies.
Well, I'm doing okay. Could do better. Could always sell more.
Well, after this, we're going to ship 1,000 copies of each book, obviously, after this interview.
Get that down in writing.
So let's put your first book, Microbrits.
Yeah.
This is possibly one of my favourites of yours. I think this is my favourite, and it's not just the subject, it's the golden age of British gaming that you cover in this one. But it's quite a messy narrative, and you seem to put it in a timeline really well.
Yeah.
I think that's one of the things I find most impressive in Microbrits is that you've got this messy kind of all over the place historical record of British gaming, and then but you put it into like a nice tidy timeline. You've kind of got it sorted quite well.
Yeah, it's I don't even know. I can't remember how I came about doing that, because I think originally I was just going to do a straightforward timeline, like going from 1980 to whatever straight through, and obviously it was going to jump from different developers if I did it that way. And I think that would have been more messy. So I think that's why I changed it. I changed it to concentrate on one developer, then the next one, then the next one, and then you have this timeline that came about by accident more
Yeah.
than anything.
Because it seems really nice. It fits really well, and it's I was quite surprised, quite impressed by how it's such a messy subject. So like you say, you can go from year to year, and then you're bouncing from developer to developer, but you
Yeah,
set it out in developers, so it still bounces a bit
yeah,
with developers, but the developers seem to be in a timeline. So you
yeah,
start with the earliest developers later on. That kind of puts it into a relatively easier,
yeah. I
understandable way.
always did it it's in chronological order of when the studio started.
Hmm.
So obviously you start with I can't remember. Imagine I start with.
It's been a while since I've read
It's
it. Let's have
Imagine
a
the
look.
first one, isn't it?
Yep, Imagine Software's the first one.
Which was like pretty much one of the first, and then it ends with is it Rockstar?
22 Cans is the next
Oh
one.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Oh, yeah, I did the Peter Molyneux
Yeah,
trilogy
so
at the
it's
end, didn't I?
Rockstar, and then this one's got a second introduction, then Bullfrog Lionhead, 22 Cans.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. The last bit was like a trilogy because it wasn't in chronological order. I wanted to just do the three studios that Peter Molyneux did instead of fitting into the normal timeline. That's why there's another introduction.
Because there's quite a bit with Peter Molyneux near the
Yeah,
end of it. It's quite funny. Didn't you send him a copy of the book?
yeah, yeah. He got back to me as well.
Oh, what did he say? What was his feedback?
He said, he said he hadn't read the whole book, but he read his three chapters, and he said he quite liked it. I don't know if he was being polite or what. But, yeah, yeah. He contacted me.
Because I like the bit with Peter Molyneux because he's quite a hated figure in gaming,
Yeah,
and you took a kind of very nice diplomatic, friendly approach to the.
yeah. It's because I don't have the hatred for him. I really don't. I, I've never understood it either, to be honest with you.
Yeah, I think he's kind of overpromised things and didn't deliver.
Yeah, yeah, I know, I get that.
But plenty of people have done that and not got the
Yeah,
hatred he gets.
exactly. Yeah,
It's
people seem to put the hatred and then forget all the great stuff he's done before that.
yeah, he's done some amazing stuff. Like he's one of those. I don't know. Like he should be revered as a legend of gaming, but he's quite vilified instead.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't think it helped that he ended up on like cash grab mobile games.
No, that
That
hasn't helped at all.
that hasn't helped him in any way.
No.
How was researching for Microbrits then? Because it would be your first book. Was your research different to what it is now? The way you
Um, it's funny that you say Microbrits is your favourite. It's actually my least favourite.
is it?
Yeah,
How come?
because it was my first and I was still learning. I mean, I think I write far better now than when I did then. My research is far better now. Um, and I just don't think about it. I mean, I love the subject. The subject's great, but I know if I was reading it a few weeks ago, actually, I didn't read the whole thing, but I read a few chapters, and I was just looking at that. I was going, I would write that so differently now.
Yeah,
Yeah,
you perfected your craft a bit more.
yeah, it's it's a good book, but it's probably my least favorite because I know I can do better now.
Yeah, I mean, I remember we had the joke when it first came out about the secret of Money Island.
Yeah, private joke. Yeah,
Yeah, I could pop it up on social media and no one knew what we were on about.
as long as we know.
Yeah, well, I found that interesting. Like, I'm going to jump forward a little bit, but like earlier this week, you mentioned on social media about writing the word something,
Yeah,
and could you be a tiny bit dyslexic?
yeah. I don't know if you can.
And then I was sort of reading it, going, "Well, just use a spell checker. What's wrong with you?" And then I saw your answer to someone else saying that. It was like you kind of turned right and you kind of gamified it.
Yeah, I use a spell check, but not until I'm doing the last draft because I want to try and catch as many errors myself. I'm trying to train my brain to pick them up. So obviously, the more I do it, the more I get used to it. Then the spell check comes in at the very, very last, the last draft.
I like the idea that you try to beat your score on the next draft
Yeah,
with a spell
yeah,
check. It's like if he's writing a book, that's something that's most people can't do. It's difficult, it's intensive. There's the research, and you're just gamifying it as you go along.
trying to get my score down. Stop playing golf.
Yeah, it's just like
Went below par.
what's par on 1,000 word on 100,000 word novel. But I know what you mean. Like, so I was reading it, it's like you say with something, it was get the T and H you get mixed round.
Yeah,
And I have a word like in my job, I use the word assessment is used a lot in my work, and I look at it and go, "That's not spelled right. Why is that? Why was that not right?" And then I look at spell check it, and no, it is right.
yeah. You
And
date
every time I
yourself.
look, it doesn't assessment and necessary. I can never spell necessary. And
Yeah,
assessment never looks like it's spelled correctly. It always looks like it's wrong, even when it isn't.
yeah.
And I can't get my brain round that. There's some little quirk in there. But yeah, maybe it is possible to be slightly dyslexic.
I want to look into it. I'm going to do a bit of research and see if it is possible. Because I don't think dyslexic is just on or off. I think it might
No, there's
work
got to
on
be
the
like a
spectrum.
spectrum of it, surely. There's got to be a.
So yeah, it might be possible.
Uh,
Be interesting if I was.
yeah, it is indeed. But anyway, let's get back to Microbrits. um, what was the. Because you did a lot of research in this, and it is a period of British gaming that was absolutely wonderful. And I feel like we're slightly living through a similar period now. Or we might have just got past it with indie games.
Yeah,
I think the big burst of indie games was very reminiscent of the golden age of British gaming, like the
yeah.
Benjamin Coda. Are there any stories or anything you found while researching that kind of surprised you that you didn't know about before?
No, not really. I mean, to be honest, I knew quite a lot of it going in because, growing up at that time, so I knew quite a lot of it. But I think that the connecting of it, because obviously it's called a tapestry
Hmm.
of the British gaming, because it was about connecting all these different stories, and they have some developers tie in with each other, and like DMA design started with Psygnosis, and then DMA went on to become Rockstar and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, I knew most of it, but there were a few little connections that I've discovered that I didn't know before.
As it was, because it's like I say, I'm still kind of blown. It's your least favorite. I don't understand why it's your least favorite because you could, if you were to go back and rewrite it today,
Yeah,
it'd probably be a completely different book because it's your first one. But I don't know. I just think, like I say, that subject, I think you've handled it perfectly. I don't think there's a better way you could have lined it
I
all out.
like the subject matter. It's just the way it's written. I know I'd write it
Yeah.
better. I think that's what the critical thing is with me. The subject matter's fine.
And then after that, you did 66 of the most important video games,
Yeah, you like
which
that
I love this one because it caused so much controversy. And there was times I'm sat thinking, I know this is before I went into the book. Well, let's just talk about it. So it's the 66 most important video games ever, and then the disclaimer in brackets is according to me,
according to me. Yeah,
right? So I knew these are not the best game. This says nowhere in the title the best games ever.
it's a very specific title
Yeah, the
for a
title
very good
is for a
reason.
reason. Yeah.
Yeah.
And when I used to be a streamer when this came out, and we give a couple of copies away if people could name 10 games in it of the 66, and it caused some big arguments. And there was some I was looking at thinking, has he left this out on purpose? Like, I think the biggest one that everyone got shocked at was there's no Sonic the Hedgehog in there.
Yeah,
And I was like, he's done that on purpose, he's trolling here. He's done this to sort of like cause a fuss and kick up marketing. But like Sonic was a massive figure, like the mascot wars,
yeah.
the difference between Sega and Nintendo. Um, but as you quite rightly pointed out, none of that's about the game.
No,
So why didn't Sonic make it? Because you give me a good explanation before, but I'll let you do it in your own words.
I just don't think it's what you'd call an important game. I mean, is it a good game? Yeah, you can enjoy a game, but that doesn't make it important. It didn't really contribute anything to the gaming world in a huge way. I mean, console wars existed before Sega and Nintendo anyway, so it's not as if it started that. So I mean, it's a good game, but I just didn't think it was important.
Yeah, because everything it does in terms of mechanics. It's not groundbreaking graphics. It's not changing the platform genre. It goes fast.
Yeah, I think that's it.
That's
It's a
it.
bit
Yeah,
fast.
it does exactly what Mario does. It just goes fast.
Yeah,
And other games have gone fast or faster. So yeah, it
yeah.
didn't
So
change anything. Another one that was in there was Final Fantasy VII didn't make it.
no,
Which I vehemently disagree with, which is, I suppose, the whole purpose of the book. Why did not make the cut? Because 3 did, if I remember rightly.
three did, because I just felt that in terms of evolution of RPGs and storytelling, 3 got it right, and it was like pretty much one of the first to do it. By the time 7 come out, it already been done. again, it's not saying it's not a good game, but is it really important?
See, I disagree with you, but for the same reasons. I think, Seven is a wonderful um, storytelling, wonderful RPG. But I feel it's important because I think it's one of the first breakthrough Japanese RPGs in the UK.
Yeah,
Like Seven, like no, everyone went back and played Four and Three. There's only really the retro aficionados who knew of it. I think Seven was responsible for the explosion of the JRPG in the
yeah.
UK. So I think that's why I think it should be in there as an important game.
Well, yeah, but that's just concentrating on the UK only. I'm talking about the gaming world in a whole.
Hmm.
So that's probably why it didn't make the cut because it already been done, even if it'd been done in Japan.
So was when you putting this list together, was the first off, let's start off. Why 66? Why not 50 or 100? Like the standard.
I didn't have a title for the book originally, and I was just writing it. And when I finished, like the first couple of drafts, I had 66 games, and I just thought, "There's a title." Yeah, 'cause it's meant to be like one of those like 101 films you to see before you die. I wanted a title like that, but I didn't have 101 games, so it just became 66.
And I suppose it's a weird when you know, like, it's always a top 50 or a top 20 or
Yeah,
a top 100. It's like
yeah,
66 is just such a weird number. It does kind of catch your eye.
yeah. That's another part of it. I wanted it to be not a round number.
Yeah.
It stands out a bit more.
So what was the criteria for what made the list? Did you have like a criteria set aside and matching every game against that criteria to make it,
Um,
or
no, a lot of it was going through games that I grew up with. So it wasn't necessarily matched against anything other than did I think it was important. Um, so I didn't set any criteria. I just sat down and started writing and just thinking what were important games that I grew up with, and I just started putting up a list. I think the initial list was only like 12 or 15, something like that. And then, I started writing those 12 or 15, and then it was like, oh, I remember that game. I'll write about that one. Oh, I remember that game. I'll write about that one. It just kept building.
was the games that you cut from the list, or did you want them go back and go, actually, that's not really
There
that
weren't any I
important,
cut.
or
There's none that I cut, but at the end there is an honourable mentions. There were games that I thought, yeah, I could cover these, but I also felt the book was getting a bit too big at the time, so I just put these honourable mentions in at the end.
and it's like I say, it's quite a personal book. So I do like the idea, like we just argued over Final Fantasy VII versus Final Fantasy III. Like I love three, it's amazing, but seven was my first Final Fantasy. I remember being in Game Station in Leeds with my paper round money, and
Yeah,
I was looking like, what the fuck's this? I've never seen this before. I've never heard of this. And I was like looking at, and I remember it looked interesting on the back. It looked exciting, and then it was that I think it was quite. I think it was quite cheap, and it was 4 discs, was it?
yeah. I was going to say it was on multiple discs, which was
And I
quite
was like,
unusual at the time.
this is with 4 disc game like this.
Yeah,
And being like a teenage lad, where money wasn't affable. It was like, well, there's 4 discs on this. It's got to be worth my money.
yeah,
Like I've got to get some time out of this. Then all right, I'll give this a go. I'm fell in love with RPGs from then on.
yeah.
Like that was my introduction to RPGs, and I think it was for a lot of people. So, but then that's going quite an emotional and nostalgic, which doesn't make it an important game, does it?
No, I mean, that's why I try to differentiate because the games in there that I don't like. There are some
Hmm.
bad games in that book, but it doesn't mean they're not important.
Well, that's actually mentioning bad games. They're not, like I say, because like we said earlier, it doesn't say the best games.
Yeah,
Because if I recall rightly, Superman 64's in there.
Superman's in there, yeah, which is an awful game.
Awful, awful game.
One of the
I don't
worst
think
games
you'll find
ever.
anybody that will defend that.
No,
But it's
but
in there as an important one.
it's important because of the story that I tell about how the devs wanted to make a different game and then the publishers got involved and they messed it up. And I think it's important because it shows that maybe they should let the devs do the job.
Yeah, you've got that line between creative and corporate, haven't you? Where
Yeah,
you need corporate to finance it and back it, but then and put that limit on the creativeness. You've got to be a limit where you right.
yeah, yeah,
If the
oh,
game is
definitely,
done at this point, stop making it, stop
yeah,
adding this, stop doing that. This is what we're doing. Crack on. But then also you need to stand back enough to let the creatives. just for
Yeah,
a loot and
definitely.
create something. But yeah, I remember laughing out. I remember bursting out laughing when I saw like turn the page and it's Superman. I was just like, this is fucking brilliant. This is possibly the worst game of all time.
It is, yeah. It's up there, definitely. I mean, Rise of the Robots is in there as well, and that's bloody awful.
That was shocking, was that? But it was so hyped up as well.
Yeah, and that's why it's in there because of the hype. It taught me not to believe the hype.
Yeah, I think it's the first time where you look at don't believe
Yeah,
the promos and all the outcomes. It's an interesting. I love it. It's an interesting book, and it's one that because I think none of these are in my shed,
that's
right?
nice.
Well, you've seen inside my shed. My shed
Yeah,
isn't just
yeah.
my guy. It's a
Little
big
man
game.
cave.
Yeah, it's a big gaming shed full of all my memorabilia from the games industry and stuff, and these are on the shelf in there normally. And when I have people around, everyone looks at a bookshelf and everything,
Yeah,
and that's the book that always gets people talking. That is a really good. I think you should redo this one. It's like this size here, this big book that we're going to get to in a bit, but have it like a coffee table book with pictures, like some screenshots from the games and stuff. I think it'd be a brilliant coffee table book as a conversation starter.
I was actually thinking about doing a follow up or a sequel to it, but it's finding the time to do it. But it it's on the cards. Let's just say that.
So what would the sequel be? What's the idea for the sequel?
I don't know yet.
There's like another 66 slightly important games.
It probably more than 66 this time because, as I say, I've gotten better at writing and researching. So yeah, I mean, I wouldn't even have a title at the moment, but yeah.
But what was the inspiration for 66 then? Was it just because I know you do like to be a bit of a troll, which I'm going to get to in a bit. Um, so what was the inspiration for it? Was it just like this will fuck with people?
Nah, I mean that I never even thought about that till you mentioned it.
Right.
I honestly didn't.
I took it just straight as, oh, this is beautiful. He's wrote this to get people angry.
No, I didn't. I honestly didn't. It really was just me looking back at the industry and saying this is an important game and this is an important game and this is an important game, and that was it. I never wrote it to thinking, oh, I hope this riles people up.
Yeah, because when I were giving them away on Steam, all I said, I didn't say what games were in or what was in or why they were in.
Yeah.
Just said first person, like first two people in the stream today to name 10 of the 66 games in this book or win a signed copy of the book. And people put a list of 10 games in the chat, and I'd just go, oh, Paul Smith, 4 out of 10. Adam Jones, 6 out of 10. And they're like, what fucking 6 out of minute? Which 4 are these? Didn't make these are fucking banging games.
Yeah.
And I remember one guy on the stream who just went, they were going through it, and then it became, rather than people trying to name 10 of those book games, it became like a game of Mastermind. Remember in the 80s where you had the little
Yeah, yeah,
pegs and
yeah,
you
the little
colour code
pegs,
them?
yeah.
Yeah, it was like that. People are going, right. So if I take that one out and put like, I'll just take one out and change it. Like, it's still 6, right? So we know it's not that one. And they're like collaboratively trying to break this code. And I remember one guy just going, and I think it was Sonic the Hedgehog. It was like, what do you fucking mean Sonic's not in here? How can Sonic not be in there? This is ridiculous. All right, this guy don't know what he's on about. Right, I'm gonna borrow that guy. Right, I'm just on his fucking book, see what this crank's writing. And like, yeah, you're pissed off and you hate him and you think he's crap, but you did just buy his book, didn't you? I'm like, this is genius marketing. Like, get people so angry they need to read what's in there.
Yeah, it's a good idea. Do that more often.
Yeah, but then you kind of change tact a bit after 66 games. Then,
A
right?
little bit, yeah.
I'm gonna go off the timeline, but I'm staying on genre. So then you moved on to the complete history of Games Master.
Yeah.
Well, what was the thinking of that? Because that was beautiful. I read that. I watched an episode of Games Master as a kid, but then reading the book, I was like, shit, I forgot all about that. Or
Yeah.
I don't remember this bit.
Well, as you know, that didn't even start as a book. I started on my blog, didn't I? I was
Yeah, it
doing
originally
a
started as a blog.
retrospective, and it was during lockdown, and there was nothing to do, so I just thought I'm going to watch Games Master.
Yeah, there's no else on, no news
and
getting
do,
made.
and do a blog about it, And I was probably about halfway through series 4, and then I thought this could make a good book. Yeah, but I need to research it more because the blog is literally just basic.
Yeah.
So I need to research more for a book. And I was at the time there was no Games Master books. I thought, oh, there's a gap in the market here. And then
When did
2
you go
days,
to the anniversary as well?
92 it started, wasn't it? 92, 93.
Yeah. So
So
2002.
2000,
Yeah.
yeah. So yeah,
Yeah.
I don't know if I realised it was the anniversary at the time, but yeah. But then, as I said, I thought this as I was doing the blog, I thought, this could be a good book because there's no Games Master book. Nobody's written about Games Master before. And then 2 days later, you sent me the link to Dominic Diamond's.
I remember you doing that. Like, no one's wrote a book about Games Master. I'm
Yeah.
gonna do it. I'm like,
Literally like 2 days after I came up with the idea, and I was like, "Oh, you bastard!"
Right. No offense. I love you as an author, and got all your books here. But I think Dominic Diamond might have more pull in selling the Games Master book since he presented it.
Yeah, definitely. But I still haven't read his book yet. But as far as I understand it, it's not. It's about all the behind the scenes stuff. It's not about each individual. My book's each episode and each golden joystick ever won and lost. And I don't
Yeah,
think
because
his book goes into detail.
this was a change of tact for you in a writing style as well, because it wasn't.
Yeah,
It's like you've written before in Microbrits, you kind of have a general overview of what happened, and 66
yeah,
games is from your perspective. And then this is very factual,
yeah. Much more
almost
specific.
almost minute, 'cause it's not like, oh, in season one such and such happened. It is like season one, episode one, season one, episode two,
Yeah,
and you go through it, you break it down
yeah,
meticulously.
yeah.
It's a completely different style of writing. How did you find that change?
I find it quite easy. I mean, that's kind of when I think that's the point where I started to research better. It wasn't just about watching the episode. 'Cause when I did the blog, I watched the episode and wrote about it. That was it. When I did that, I watched the episode 4, 5, 6, 7 times, rewinding it, pausing it, seeing if I could spot little details, looking up interviews, trying to contact people because I got Dave Perry to write the foreword.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I mean that's a turning point where my research got better.
Because didn't you send the book to Dave Perry at his tattoo shop,
Yeah,
and you didn't tell him about it?
the thing is that I had a pre-release version. So it hadn't been finished yet. Still, it's probably like 2 drafts away from being finished. But I knew where Dave Perry's tattoo shop was. So I sent him a copy, but I didn't tell him who it was from.
Because I remember
And
the
then,
post on social media just coming
yeah,
up like, just received this. It's absolutely brilliant. Don't know who from, but thank you,
yeah,
whoever you are. And all like, yeah, this is. You need to check out this guy. He wrote it. Here we
yeah.
go.
I don't remember how. I don't know if somebody sent me Dave Perry's post because I didn't look for it.
I sent you it. I tagged you
Oh,
in it
did
on
you send it
Twitter.
then?
I tagged you on Twitter. And I was like, oh, it's LBO Gaming. You need to check him
Oh,
out here.
there you
That's
go.
the
That's
author.
probably where I got it from then. Yeah.
Yeah, because you
And,
were like, oh shit. Yeah.
yeah, and then I mean, Dave had a bit of a back and forth, private back and forth on social media, sending messages to each other. And I just said, "Do you fancy writing the foreword?" And he went, "Yeah, right then." Yeah,
Well,
so,
cheers, pal.
why not?
Because that kind of started a new style of writing for you there. Because then you went on to do um, Doom, which
Yeah,
it's kind of very similar. It's very factual again, but it also seems to be quite personal. It's quite a favourite game of yours.
it is. Yeah, I mean, that came about because of 66. If you read the Doom makes it into 66. And if you read the opening of that, it does come up saying something along the lines of somebody should write a book about like, a history book of Doom. And I was like, I can do that.
Someone should write a book about this. Oh shit, I'm an author. I can do that.
So I thought, yeah, it'd be a good idea to that. And I reached out to John Romero, had a few emails with him, and I contacted Sandy Peterson as well, who's one of the map designers, and a few other the guys that were involved. Got a bit of information from them, and just said, yeah, I'm going to do this.
Yeah, because it was. I think it's one of my funniest moments is that because I've got. Actually, I've got a lot of your books. I think I've got every book you've written, to be fair, and some multiple times. A couple of them are signed and stuff. I think I'm mentioned in the thank you section of all of them.
Yeah, probably, yeah.
I'm quoted on the cover of Microbrits, so it's like I'm quite involved in this series. If anyone didn't notice, and then I was quite honoured that you went, "Oh, can you write? Would you fancy writing a bit
Yeah,
for Doom?"
for Doom, yeah.
And you asked me and a couple of people, and everyone's talking about how important Doom is and how much they love it. And then my piece is, I don't like it.
Yeah, but I like that though, because everybody thinks Doom's great, so it's nice to get a different perspective and a different opinion.
Yeah, and I just want to balance people watching, right? I don't like Doom. It's just never
You
clicked with me.
respect it though.
But I respect it. It's kind of, realizing you couldn't have Oasis without Blur. You couldn't
Yeah,
have, it's the you couldn't have first-person shooters today without Doom.
yeah,
It is the building block and inspirational for it, and that's kind of what I say in my piece that I wrote for you.
yeah,
But
yeah.
I just find it quite funny that when I got my copy and I'm reading through it, and it's like, everyone, you've wrote an entire book how much you love this game. Everyone else that's written for it has said to love it, and then there's this idiot in a cowboy hat going, "I think it's shit."
You got the opening on that chapter as well.
Yeah, yeah, I did. So I got the hatred straight off the bat.
Yeah, get that out of the way.
Get the crap out of the way early, then we can get back to the good stuff. Um, but how did you find writing for Doom? Was there anything? Because I know it's quite a personal game. You've got a lot of nostalgia for it. Was there anything you discovered while researching that, or that came up you didn't know?
There was a fair bit actually, because obviously at that point there was already a Doom book out, and John Romero, I think I don't know if he just released his as I released mine. I think it's about the same time, because John Romero's got Doom Guy.
Hmm.
And it came out about the same time. So there's already a lot of information to Doom out there, but I wanted to. The thing about those books is it just concentrates on the making of Doom. I wanted to go beyond that. I wanted to go the legacy of Doom, the 30 years of it, and what it inspired. And there's a chapter that looks at every single console port of Doom. There's a chapter that looks at the different maps and the mods that are out there and all that kind of stuff. So I learned a lot that I didn't know, because I had to play every single console version. And I hadn't played some of these, and I had to play these mods, and I had to do all this kind of stuff. So there's loads of stuff that I didn't
And,
know.
and some of the entries into the series are not great.
No, they're not.
It loses its way a little bit in the middle, doesn't it? I think. And
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah, yeah. I covered everything to do with Doom, all the films, the spin-offs, everything. And those Doom films are awful.
oh, um, is there more than one film?
There's two.
There's two. I
There's
remember the
two.
one with The Rock and Dexter
Yeah, that
Fletcher.
was the first one.
Yeah, me and my wife love that.
You love it.
We love it. It's so
It's not
bad. It's
a bad
good.
action film, but
It's
it's a
not a bad
terrible
action
Doom
film.
film.
Oh, it's a
There's
terrible
nothing to
Doom
do.
film. But I remember going to the cinema to see it when it came out, and just pissing myself laughing, like people looking at the cinema, because it just involuntary roaring laughter
Yeah,
when, like, the big showdown at the end when he gets the BFG,
yeah.
and then it kind of goes to, like, you're
First
playing
person.
Doom. It
Yeah,
just goes out and he's just shooting and then punching people. He's like,
yeah.
this is fucking Doom. This is brilliant.
That's what the whole film should have been.
Yeah, they've actually put the game. And it's like, if you don't know the game, it's just gonna be, that's a weird way of showing the action. Or it's quite
Yeah,
cool way. But if you know Doom, you just start there going, that's the fucking game. It's brilliant.
yeah.
But yeah, we do it. It's one of our guilty pleasures. Is Doom. We love the film.
It's just not a very good Doom film. That's the problem.
No,
Nothing
I think
Doom
that's it.
at all.
No, it's a good action film, but not a good
Yeah.
Doom film. But yeah, so I mean, after you'd finished writing Doom, I don't think it was out yet, was it? Was the book out when you first came to Blackpool for Play Expo?
No, because I got John to sign a pre-release
Yeah,
version.
because you met John at Blackpool, didn't you? Got him to sign the pre-release version of it.
Doom was released in December, and we went October, so the
Yeah,
book was out for Doom's 30th. So it's a couple of months after.
yeah, because I remember you've got a beautiful extra page in your
Yeah.
copy, haven't you?
Special one-off page. Nobody else has got that.
Yeah, I quite like that. Where it says something along the lines of
A little message to John.
a little message to John Romero, and it's like that is a beautiful thing to own. Like, you've written this book and then got it signed by him as well.
Yeah.
But now I say, did he remember you when you first met him to sign that book? Because you said you talked. Did you talk to John a little bit before you wrote it?
We had a few emails back and forth. I don't know if he did remember me. But he might have, because he's got this condition, hasn't he, where he remembers everything. So he probably did remember me. I think he did, yeah. I think he mentioned something. I can't remember now, because it was like I'm meeting John Romero signing my book. So I wasn't, exactly.
This is great.
I wasn't really taking it. I was like, John Romero signing my book.
Well, I remember that being quite funny because it was the first year he came to Blackpool. Because I've
Yeah.
gone for like the last 7 or 8. I think it's my 8th one this year, my 8th Play Expo. Um, and I go every year, and then I said to like, you need to come to this one. They're gonna announce John Romero next week.
He was at the one before because I was going to come to the one before, but I couldn't make it.
Oh, it's the one before, wasn't it? Where I said
Yeah.
he's gonna come to it, and then I was like, this is you couldn't make it. I'm like shit, I don't know if he's ever gonna come back.
Yeah.
And now he's done the last 3 years in a row.
Yeah.
So I'm assuming he's going to be there again this year because he seems to
Probably.
just
Yeah.
love it. And it's
He does. He's there all the time.
yeah, everyone were like, "Fuck, it's John Romero." This that first
Yeah.
panel, the room was packed.
Yeah.
And then October just gone. I think we're like half the people, and they're going, we've heard it for 2 years. It's quick. It's amazing how quick your legend status can fall. But yeah, I think he lives in Ireland, doesn't he?
Yeah. Yeah. He
Yeah, so
does.
it's
Yeah.
just a quick hop over to Blackpool.
Yeah.
Is there. But yeah, I found it quite funny. Like shit, I'll take a copy out. Can you get me a copy? Is it ready? And I'll get it signed for you.
Yeah.
And I don't think it were ready in time.
No, no, it wasn't there.
And then it was like, shit, I'm really gutted because it would have been great to meet him and get it signed. And I'm like, oh no, he's back this year. Oh, he's back this year as well. He's there again. Did you send John a copy of the book at all,
I sent him an early draft because I sent it to his development studio in Ireland. So he got a very, very early draft of it, and it was like half the size.
or? So was he going to write the foreword for that at one point as well, or
I didn't ask him. I didn't even think about asking him.
did you
And I
not?
should have.
Yeah, I don't know. Would he have done if he had Doom Guy coming out as well, though?
Yeah, I think that might be why I didn't ask him because I remember Doom Guy was coming out, and I thought, maybe I shouldn't. Yeah, but I don't think he'd want to promote my book. He's always trying to promote his.
Yeah, it's a bit counterproductive, isn't it? But then, of course, then you've wrote a lot more. But I've skipped a couple of books out because I'm going by genre, so we'll jump back a bit. But you've got. I just think there's a couple I'm not got. So there's one here I've got which you just announced a sequel to, sort of.
It's a follow up, not a sequel.
Yeah. So this is a great book, The Book of Deaths. Do you want to explain what this is?
It's a collection of strange, unusual, sometimes funny, sometimes not funny ways that people have died over the years. It's a very bizarre, macabre look at death, really.
How did that come about? Because I say it's a big change from your gaming books. You've done a couple of
Yeah,
gaming books, then you did this.
yeah.
Was it sort of like a palate cleanser, or what? What was the inspiration
It
for it?
was. I was writing a completely different book, and somebody in the book gets shot. And I've never been shot, so I didn't know what that was like. So I had to research what it was like being shot. And I think I point to the search engine something like recently shot, something like that. And it come up with this story about a guy in France, a waiter who was shot because a sandwich took too long. It's in the book. And it was like that was like one of the top six. I put recently shot, and this news story had just broken like literally a few minutes before. And I thought, you shot somebody because a sandwich took too long to come out. That's really weird.
That
And,
is
and
mental.
that kind of got me thinking about how people have died. And I was like, this is something, you know. A lot of people have died over the years, you know.
Yeah,
There've been a few,
yeah. There's been a few people dead. Yeah,
been a couple, and I just thought it'd be interesting just to look at the way that people have died. And the next thing I knew, I had all these different categories. I had theme park deaths, I had
Celeb.
ironic deaths,
But you start with celebrity deaths, I think, don't you?
celebrity deaths,
A lot
yeah,
of
and
celebrities that have died, and some celebrities who might or may have killed or did kill
yeah,
people. Yeah,
yeah, celebrities that have killed people, and all these different ideas started coming into my head. And I thought, oh, this is a book. This is, and so I sat down to write it.
yeah. And it's a great book. I love it. It's a big change, but also when you first told me you were writing that, the first thing that came to my head were the Darwin Awards.
Yeah, that made it.
Yeah, the Darwin. I know there's a section there with Darwin. I absolutely. I check that maybe about every 3 to 6 months. I'll just pop in on the Darwin Awards. I'm like, what's new on here? Because damn man.
There are some really stupid people out there.
Yeah, if anyone doesn't know the Darwin Awards, it's a thing online where it celebrates people for selflessly removing themselves from the gene
Yeah,
pool because there's such stupid ways of dying that it's
yeah.
just ridiculous. So there's some of them there, but yeah, it's quite interesting. So you announced the follow-on from it.
It's a follow-up. It's not a sequel because it's a different theme, but it still explores death.
Yeah, isn't this 24 Hours to Die? It's called, or
24 Hours Till Death, yeah.
24 Hours Till Death.
And
So
it
it's
looks at famous names. It starts out with a biography, a highlighted biography of their life from the day they were born, right up to their last day on Earth, and then it goes into a breakdown of their last 24 hours. So you look at what they did in the 24 hours before they died, and then there's like a wrap up at the end that looks at the aftermath of the death.
it's quite an interesting question, isn't it? Like, what if you knew this was your last 24 hours? What would you do?
Yeah, but it was more like because there's a lot of rumours about how people have died over the years and stories like the opening chapter is Marilyn Monroe,
Yeah,
and everyone
quite
knows
famous.
that she was probably the first big celebrity death, and everyone knows that she was found nude on the bed, and I was like, well, what was she doing before that? And that's what started it off. And I
Yeah,
started looking back at everything, and it was like, I want to know what she was doing before she died, not how she died, but what she was doing before that.
yeah. So like, what led up to it, and
Yeah.
yeah, it's an interesting subject. I'm looking forward to seeing that. But I know, like, you've got another sort of question that's popped in my head. There is, how many books do you write at once? Because you just
um,
said there you were writing another book, and I know
I've got
you've
another
got your
book.
24 Hours to Death, then you've
Yeah,
got another book we're going to talk about a bit later.
yeah,
So I know you're writing two at the moment.
yeah.
Is there more than two you're writing at the moment, or are
The,
the
the,
ideas that get fleshed out over time?
it's
Or
the way I work is I kind of think of it as a conveyor belt. I have a book at the front of the conveyor belt. That's my number one book. I concentrate on that. Let's say 80%.
hmm
And then I have a second book that I work on when I'm taking breaks from the first book. And that one, I put, I don't know, 18% into it. And then that last 2% is my third book, which is at the end. And this third book is literally just an idea.
hmm
And then I finish book one, so that comes off the conveyor belt. Then everything moves along. So then book two becomes book one, so I'm concentrating on that one. And then I've got this third book has now become book two that I'm now working on.
then a fourth idea becomes book
And
three.
yeah, and then I'm working on another idea. But so I write two books at once. One of them is like my main book. Then I've got a secondary book that I just do when I'm taking breaks.
Have you
And
ever had
then
the secondary book take over from the first book? Have you ever gone, I've reached a point of
this
this, that sits back, I'm gonna, this
this
one's
one
going
happened.
really well.
This one's happened with this death book because it's a smaller book than the other one I'm writing. But they're both at the same point now because they're both. I'm doing the last draft now, but I'm going to finish the death book first, even though I've started this other one before it
Yeah.
because it's just a smaller book, but it's still a big book. It's like 80,000 words at the moment, over 80,000 words.
I quite like that approach as well. It kind of makes a lot of sense to me because you can end up bogged down in something, so you sort of can't see the wood for the trees,
Yeah, you need to take a
and you
break.
need to take a step back and walk. So I do it when I write my editorials, my opinion piece on my website. They generally take about a week to write because it's an idea that I've fleshed out,
Yeah,
and then I research a little bit and add that into it, and then I read it. I'm sort of like second draft it, basically walk away
yeah,
and just go do stuff. Just I'll be doing like if I'm stuck on something I can't quite articulate a thought in my head, or I've got a piece of information but I can't make it fit in. I'll go do like the washing up or
yeah,
go do some chores, and that kind of percolates in the back of my head. So I can.
yeah, yeah.
It makes sense, like if you're stuck on something in the book, like right, we'll go write this other one, and it's completely different subject, and it's.
Yeah, it's good. It's good to have a break and just do something completely different.
Have you ever had a book where you'd be writing it and just gone, nah, this isn't happening, and just abandoned it?
I've got 3 books, various drafts that are sitting on my hard drive that I'm just like, nah, it's not working.
No.
It does happen. It doesn't happen a lot, but yeah, I've got abandoned projects here, but I don't delete them because I'm thinking, you know,
Yeah,
that
you can
won't
have
come
that
about.
one thought, that one bit of inspiration. You go
Yeah,
back, and the entire book changes.
yeah, exactly. So they're just there sitting on my hard drive. So I might go back to them. You never know.
Which books are the biggest change between drafts? Then and you sort of like, I've got this idea, write my first draft, and then like you've done the second draft, and you've gone, this isn't what I set out to write, or
Yeah.
this is which one is the biggest one that's changed?
Um, this death book that I'm doing at the moment, because when I started it, because I'm doing this other book that we're going to talk about in a minute. It's huge. This other book, it's like
Mm.
300,000 words, over 300,000 words. This death book was meant to be small. It's meant to be a quick read. It's meant to be. I think I said I was going to aim for like 50,000 words, and it was just going to be the 24 hours of the last people alive, and that was it. And then I was like, well, you need to lead up to that 24 hours. So then I thought I'll do the biography. And it's like, well, what happened after the death? What was the reaction? So I had to add that in. And the book grew. Yeah.
Yeah, it just I like. What's how recent is it? Because I was like reading like you announced your book on social media, and then I think like 2 days later, the Gene Hackman died,
Yeah.
and there's a lot of conspiracy around that already because it's
Yeah. Gene Hackman hasn't made the cut. There's a reason that you'll see. There's a cut-off at a point. There's several deaths that are covered that I've had to take out because I've reached this cut-off point. That will make sense when you read the book, because it starts with somebody and it ends with somebody very similar, with a very similar life and a very similar death. So you got this bookend.
nice.
So I didn't want to go past that bookend. Even when I did the first draft, though, I did. I've got about 5 or 6 other deaths that aren't going to make the cut.
But they set aside for book 3.
Maybe,
Yeah.
maybe.
Never getting deleted, just sit on the hard drive, used for
They're
later.
still there. They're just still there, waiting to be finished.
Well, I found it quite funny that you announced that, and then the Gene Hackman thing happened, and
Yeah,
it's very very weird how there's little bits now. I suppose there's this fascination with death and needing to know stuff like Gene. I think if him and his wife had been found dead, that'd
fine.
been one story.
Yeah,
But it was him, his wife, and his dog,
and the dog. Yeah,
and it's like right, that changes everything now.
but they had 2 other dogs that were fine. So you're
Yeah,
thinking,
but yeah, that came out later. But when you
yeah,
first read it, you're like,
yeah,
them two, like, oh, it might be a gas leak or a suicide
yeah.
pact, where you're like,
The
the dog's
dog.
dead. Right, okay, this is different. And
Yeah,
it's amazing. And then you find out later on, like you said, there's one dog in the house and another dog outside the house still
yeah.
alive. So you're like, what the fuck has gone on here? Like,
I don't know what's going on there. It's a very strange death.
yeah. So
They've ruled out carbon monoxide poison, haven't they? They said it's not that.
yeah, the utility company said there's no gas leak, and the fire company said there's
Yeah,
no carbon monoxide. So it's like,
it's
yeah,
very strange.
it's very strange. But yeah, it made me think instantly. Your book, or like you've is it too far that you can't put this in, or is BBC updating their articles, Steve furiously updating his book?
Well, as I say, I've got this cut-off point there because I've got this bookend to the book that works really
No, like
well.
it's kind of got like a natural narrative to it. Then it's you start and
Um,
finish with similar cases, and
yeah, there's not a connection between every single one, but there's sometimes there's a flow. There's a connection between deaths, and sometimes there's a person mentioned in this chapter that gets brought up again in another chapter. So there are those connections.
and so I'm looking forward to this second book. 'Cause that was like a breath of fresh air. Because it's so
But breath of fresh air about death.
yeah, breath of fresh air about death. But yeah, no, you know what I mean. So you got all these gaming genres, and then this
Yeah,
was something completely different. Um, and I was saying that when we talked about 66 games earlier, and I thought you'd wrote as a bit of a troll thing. Um, and it's like you say, you'd never thought of it that way. But you did then go on to write Stop the Presses,
yeah.
which had
That wasn't really a troll thing. That was more like
that
journalists are
it
shit.
ended up a troll thing.
Yeah.
It started off as a grumpy old
Oh,
man
the
thing.
finale.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the amazing
I forgot about
marketing.
that. You just mentioned it.
But we had, well, you had a post the other day. I'm kind of going to allude to it. I'll come back to that. It started off like for me. It started off as the impression I got was it's just a grumpy old man book,
Yeah, that's
and
exactly what it was
I'm
meant to
here for
be.
it. I'm there for that. I'm fully embracing being a grumpy old man. And it was just a piss take essentially of
Yeah,
these stupid stories you get online, that
non-stories,
non-stories that you have
compost base.
people with a compo face.
Yeah,
I remember like one of them was a woman complaining that the motorway next to her house is too noisy,
yeah,
and you find out the motorway was there before
yeah.
she moved in.
And she viewed the house.
She viewed the house 3 times, I think,
Yeah,
at different times of the day, and it's like, well, you knew what you were buying, and now you're moaning about it. She stood in the garden with her arms crossed. And what I love is it, you tell the story, you lay it out all facts wise,
I copy and paste exactly the story that was in
Yeah,
the press.
you make it great,
Exactly.
like you copy paste. So if there's any
Yeah.
spelling mistakes or there's any grammatical errors, like this is a so-called journalist.
Yeah.
I love that you keep putting that in quotation marks. You then rank the story,
Yeah.
you criticise the writing,
Yes.
and you score the compo face.
I'll give
On each.
every compo face a score out of 10.
I think it's amazing. It is. Did you get any pushback from any of the journalists or the publications you
No,
copied, or
no.
no?
We wanted some as well.
and but you got some attention from them all, didn't you?
Yeah.
Which was
Yes. There's a
fucking
compo face story at the
beautiful.
end, isn't there?
Yeah, is it so? With a book coming out and you've researched all these stories, you decided to make your own, didn't you?
Yeah.
Where where did this come up? Or was this just getting pissed off at the crap and just went,
It was
I
because
wonder if I can fool them?
I think that most of these stories are bullshit. I
Yeah.
think most of them are made up. I think people fake being offended just to get in the press.
Mhm.
That's where it came from. And I brought my son, who was 3 at the time, a packet of those Transformer crisps
For
that had
anyone not
little
in the
men.
UK, for anyone
Yeah,
not in the UK, we have these cheap. I'm going to say the 10p a pack, but they're probably about 40p a pack now.
50p now.
Fucking rubbish.
They used to be 10p.
Used to be 10p, but there's two different types of crisps. And it says there's like one of them is sort of like a line with bits coming off
Like a
each
stick
end,
figure.
and then the other bits are like little circles. And the idea is you can put the circles on the stick
Make a
figure,
little car.
and you make a little car, and it's
Yeah,
like it's a crisp, but it's a transformer.
yeah.
Which were great when we were kids, and your
Yeah.
boy loves them.
He
Um,
loves them. And I brought him a pack because he likes building the cars. And I opened it, and every single crisp was a wheel. There was no little man, so we couldn't transform them.
that's genuine. That's true.
That actually happened. That's genuine. I didn't fake that.
I always thought you'd fake that. I
No.
thought, in my head, your little boy sat playing, making the things, and you're going, I wonder what happened if you got. I wonder if anyone's ever got a packet without the little man in, and then you've just wrote the story from it. But it
No,
genuinely
that
happened,
genuinely happened. And
right?
because I was doing this book at the time, I thought, this is one of those crap compo face stories.
This is everything I've
And I
been
sat on
reading.
it for a couple of days and I thought, no, it's not. It's not going to work. And I just went, I'm going to do this. I'm going to send the story into a couple of news outlets, and they picked up on it.
Yeah, but you didn't just send the story, did you, Steve? You
I
changed a
initially
few of the
just said the
facts.
story. But yeah, I changed a bit of the story.
Because and I know why you did this straight away. Because we've been friends a while, so I knew your son and his name and whatnot. And then when I'm reading the article, it's saying
I'm his
grandfather
grandfather.
Steve, and I'm
Yeah.
like, I didn't know what a granddad. And then it mentioned your son's name. I'm like, that's his right. So then I've read it, pissed myself laughing at it, and then I went through trying to go, well, that's bollocks.
Yeah.
He's changed that bit. He's messed that up. I could see what you were doing. Like this was you going. Is anyone ever going to fact check this?
I had to put in lies because I believe that a lot of those stories are lies, and I wanted to see if what these journalists do with these. Do they chase them up? Do they research them? Do they check? No, they don't. They print anything.
So you sent that story in,
I sent that story in
right? Did you take your own compo photo beforehand, or did they ask you for it?
after because I didn't know whether they were going to go with the story.
Right.
I sent it to various news outlets, and only one picked up on it.
So they picked up on it. I'm assuming then a reporter or journalist rings you and talks through the story?
They emailed me back and they said they want to send a photographer around to take some pictures. And I didn't want somebody to come around my house to do that because I'm not going to keep a straight face.
No, you
I
can't.
can't keep a straight face. I would be pissing myself laughing knowing what I'm doing. So I said, I can't do that. I'm going to be out of the country.
And I think there's that bit of guilt as well. Is that this
No,
guy's
there's
a
no guilt.
professional and I'm wasting his. No, but like the photographer, I'll be like, this guy's a professional. I'm wasting his time. But then I suppose it's the newspaper's time and money,
Yeah,
so fuck them. But yeah,
yeah,
sorry, go on. You
yeah.
said you're around the country.
Yeah, once sent the photographer around, so I said I need to come up with the story that I'm not going to be around. So I said I'm going to be out the country. I wasn't. I said, I'm going to be out the country. I'll take some pictures of myself if you want and send them before I leave. They went, yeah, do that instead. So I took the pictures and sent them in.
And so it was, if I remember right, it was Birmingham Live that picked it up first, wasn't
Yeah,
it?
yeah.
Right. And you shared the link, and I thought this this is like that's beautiful. Like, well done, sir. Mwah. Chef's kiss. That was beautiful. And then it kind of took off,
It exploded.
but it was the same story cut and paste.
it it was that. Yeah, I mean that's what
It
these
never got
journalists do.
rewritten. It never got changed.
They copy and paste a story and change one or two words to say, "Oh, I've done my bit."
Yeah, but no one
Yeah.
else ever got in touch with you after that.
No, just the one outlet.
Right? But and at first I was like, right, fine, I understand this, I get this, because the sites it went on Birmingham Live.
Yeah,
Then about 2 or 3 days later, it was on like
Metro.
Middlesbrough Live, and it was
Yeah,
on Leeds Live, and it's like, right, these are all the same company. They regurgitate the story for
yeah,
clicks.
yeah,
That's fine. I get that. Then it ended up in the Metro.
yeah.
Then it ended up in a few other places. I think it ended up on the Sun,
It got in the Mirror. He went
the
national.
Mirror, the Mirror. It went Mirror. Sorry, I knew it was one of the red tops.
He went national
Like, I
with
get Birmingham
thousands
Live.
of
Birmingham Live, I
comments.
get it, right?
Yeah,
Birmingham Live, I get that. Just look, well, they're not local because it's a national company, but you have Birmingham Live, Leeds Live,
it's all
Newcastle
one
Live, all
company.
that.
They just have their own little.
Like little, it's
Yeah,
kind of like having the BBC has Look North and
it's like McDonald's.
yeah, and so I get them sharing it around theirs, and I get them being a bit shit because it's not even amateur
It's,
journalism, is it?
no,
It's right. So I get it. But the Mirror, you'd assume they'd have proper journalists and
yeah,
be
they don't.
following that up, and they didn't give a shit. Because it
No,
didn't. Well, I don't actually know because I don't really read newspapers to be fair, so I don't think it made the printed version of the Mirror, but
I don't know.
it
I've not
definitely made
haven't put it.
the online, didn't it? It made the
Oh,
web
it
page.
it definitely made the online.
'Cause, those comments were fun to read.
I read the thousands and thousands of comments.
Was there more support for you than you'd thought you'd get, or
I did get a little bit of support because there were some people saying, "Oh, he's only a 3-year-old kid. Of course, he's going to get upset and all that kind of thing." There were a few of those, but then there were people saying, "Oh, you just need to give your grandson a slap and all that kind of thing." And I'm like, "Three?
he's
You
three?
want
He
me to
hasn't done
beat up
anything
the
here.
kid?" It's a fake story anyway.
Yeah.
He
And
didn't cry back the crisps. It didn't happen.
that's one of the things I found fascinating about this was it's a fake story. Which I was like, okay, people don't know it's fake. They believe it's true. Fine.
Yeah,
They don't know you're trolling and making a point, right? But it's such a mundane thing,
yeah,
right? And you know, I'm sure you did like, you open some crash, your 3-year-old's crying because and all like that. Right, I'll nip to the shop and get another packet.
yeah.
Done.
It actually
Sorted.
happened. Yeah.
Right? That's done. But people got so angry at you for going to the press.
People got angry at me because the story was printed. I didn't print it.
Yeah,
The press did.
how is this news? Why is this on the website? Oh, I saw some guy. This guy needs to get a grip. Right.
I
It's
had
like,
so many insults thrown at me. It was unreal.
yeah, I was going like, this is such a mundane story, but people are getting so angry at it. It was ridiculous, and I can see why these websites do these fake stories because the
Yeah,
engagement it gets
yeah,
is
exactly.
unreal,
It
and
gets
that'll
to
push
me.
up the advertising
Yeah,
revenue, and that's why they do it. It's clickbait and rage bait.
that's the only reason they exist.
Yeah, but I just that book I found hilarious. It was great to watch it, and then I was hoping, really hoping that once it hit the Mirror, I was begging you to like, right, get in touch with one show
Make a confession.
and make a confession. Go on the one show and go, I faked this. I faked this to bring my new book out and prove a point about journalism
Yeah.
and like expose it. That's how I'd have finished it. I would have got in touch with the one show and gone, hiya, I've got a story for you. Get me on your show. Or like this morning or something. Some that crappy.
Yeah. One of them daytime shows.
Yeah, I'd have gone on something like that, mate. I definitely would have made that happen.
I didn't think about it at the time. I probably would have done it. I would have gone, yeah. Let's just put that out there.
Because I was begging you to. I was going, you need to confess because book sales will go through the roof if everyone finds out that I've got this book about how shit journalism is. You're like, well, Oh, right, well done, yeah. I did this article proving how shit it is. I fooled them all. They're like, all right, I'm going to read your book now. Like, it's a great
Yeah.
publicity stunt. But yeah, that was fun. But did that come about just because you were angry at reading these crap stories popping up?
I don't think it's anger, to be honest with you. If it is, it's kind of fake anger. You know, it's more of disbelief that this exists,
Yeah, but like this
that,
this is a thing.
that these people get these stories printed and journalists print them.
But I don't know who's to blame for it because it's got to be the general public that are to blame for it because if they didn't react to it, they didn't click on it, they didn't put the angry comments, then the journalist wouldn't write it.
True, but if
But
the
did the
journalist didn't
journalist
print
create the
it,
market?
if the journalist didn't print it in the first place, the stories wouldn't exist.
Yeah, I suppose it's very chicken and egg, isn't it? Like, but
It's a bit of both, yeah.
I think it's like, but if, like, is journalism just that shit now that this is where we're at, or is it people are just perpetually angry and want to kick off at something that we supply them with it now?
I think a lot of the anger's fake. I really do. I think it's just about getting their name in the press. I think people do make up these stories. I'm not saying all of them are made up,
Yeah.
but I think a lot of them are.
Oh no, I'm talking more about the people who comment on the stories
Oh yeah,
because the people who comment on the stories, like that's what gets the stories published because it's
yeah.
the
Just the engagement.
views, the engagement raises the
Yeah,
ad revenue on that article.
yeah.
But that anger is gonna be, got a shit job, they're struggling for money, they've got a shit home, whatever. Like life is shit and it's a struggle, and you can't really shout at your boss at first. But I can tell this stranger online
Yeah,
to go slap his 3-year-old grandson.
yeah.
Like it's kind of displaced anger in a way, sort of like
But I think some of the comments they're done by people who are just having a laugh. I don't
yeah.
think all the comments are genuine. I think people are like, they know it's a crap story. They know it's rubbish. They're going to make a funny comment about it. But I do think there are some that are genuine comments as well.
It worries me. I say it must be because I think it's chicken and egg. Did we create these shit articles and create the audience, or was the audience already
Yeah,
there?
I don't know what came first.
Because you wrote an article the other day about clickbait,
Yeah, I did.
about
Yeah,
rage bait.
it was the Rolling Stones 50 greatest games, wasn't it?
Yeah, kind of going full circle back to '66 guys now, but
We are, yeah.
yeah, when they wrote an article on the 50, okay, and you sent it to me, and I saw it, and
Your anger,
I'll be
you
honest, right?
exploded.
You sent me it, and I checked the message, and like, all right, that's he sent me a link to something.
Yeah,
But I was on the desk. I was in my office at work, and I was like, I can't read that at the moment. And it was like an hour later. I was on my break, read it, and went, "What the fucking?" I just exploded at you in the chat in the
as if it
message.
was my fault.
Yeah, yeah. Well, what you showed me, I could have lived my life in ignorance of that ridiculous article that the 50 greatest games of all time. And I think the earliest game in there was from 2003 or
But the
something.
two games from the 80s and everything else was like 15-year-olds. It was like, what was number one? It was one of the Zelda games, wasn't it?
Zelda Breath of the
Yeah,
oh no, the Breath of the Wild, Tears of Kingdom, or whatever it is.
yeah.
Like that's the best game of all time. I mean, I've
It's
not
a
played
good
those
game,
games. The good games, from what I've seen,
but the best ever.
the best computer game ever made.
And it's also, they weren't just listing the best. I think they also put in it was like most influential games as well. They put that in the heading. So it was like, it's not just, you're not just saying they're the best, you're saying they're the most influential.
The latest Zelda games are fantastic, but they're not the best or most influential. The game that finished number one, I think, with Tears of the Kingdom, or whatever that Zelda game's called.
Yeah.
Um, it's not even the best Zelda game.
No.
Like, this is the best game of all time. It's not even the best game in the series. Like, come on. But yeah, I remember because yeah, that were quite funny. I reading that and just going, I can feel a book coming here. Like you posted the other day when I think you commented on social media that your non-stick frying pan has got a
Yeah.
sticker telling you it's non-stick that is stuck to the pan.
We'll quit the pan.
I just commented underneath like I sent a Birmingham Live article.
I haven't done one for a while, have I?
So we kind of, I just love that it was such a change. Like you say, you've done these different outside of gaming genre. You kind of thrown your subject matters about a bit. They're
A
quite
little
new and
bit,
different, and I like. So we're coming up to the big bastard now
yeah.
that I lovingly call
Home.
it. This is the, and I'm going to be honest here. This is the only book of yours I haven't finished.
I'm not surprised.
I think I'm up to somewhere in 80s. I think.
There's like 90 years of history there.
Right. But this is. Let me just move everything out of the way. This big bastard. I mean, the title's nearly as big as the book.
It is. It's close.
So this is the sometimes usually beautiful game, a history of the World Cup 1930 to 2023. But this isn't just a history of the World Cup. This is every World Cup qualifier, every tournament, men and women's,
Every goal,
every goal, every scoreline. I
every
mean,
red card.
so you can see right here where we at. So, oh yeah, I'm at what year am I on here? I'm at South Korea v Italy. Mexico 86. I'm at. So you can see. Let's see there. Give a quick look. So you've got a paragraph on every game that happened there in the
Sometimes
group
more than a
stages.
paragraph, especially if it's a big game.
Yeah, but I'm not like South Korea, Italy. When you, well, there's here. You've got
Well, the
Italy,
group
Argentina,
games,
South
yeah.
Korea, Bulgaria, South Korea, Italy, Argentina, Bulgaria. So they've all got a paragraph each for that game. So not much happened in them.
Yeah.
But this is a very another reason why you wrote this is a very personal reason of this, isn't there?
There's, yeah, there is. I mean, it's with every book I write, it's because I want to learn more about that subject. Even going back to the gaming books, I want to learn more about that subject. Even though I grew up with gaming, and going back to Microbrits, that 80s era, even though I grew up there, I just used to play the games. I didn't care who made them.
Hmm.
And now I want to appreciate those. I want to learn how those games are made. And that's the same with the World Cup book. I wrote it because I've watched a lot of World Cup over the years. Obviously, it started in 1930. It's a little bit before I was born.
Hmm.
So
Just a
I
bit.
wanted to, a couple of years. So I wanted to learn about the World Cup before I was born. So I went right back and I watched every single World Cup game that I could find. When it started being televised, I listened to archive radio reports. I dug up old articles from the 1930s. I went right back as far as I could and researched every single World Cup game that's ever been played.
Because you have at the beginning of the book, you have sort of like an introduction.
Yeah,
And it talks about how the World Cup is always you and your brother, I think, isn't it? Or
yeah,
you
yeah.
both watched it. So it's quite a personal.
It is my brother that introduced me to it with his Spanier 82. But I can't remember how old I was then. I wasn't very much old, 6 years old, something like that. So I didn't really pay much attention to it. I knew it was on. I knew something was going on, but I didn't pay attention to it. And then Mexico 86 happened, which is why the cover is based on the Panini 86 sticker book, because that was the first World Cup I've really got into. And it's my brother that got me into it. And he sat me down and went through the rules and explained how football works and all that. And that's how I got into the World Cup. So that's how it all began.
Well, I think yeah, it's very similar to myself. I suppose it's going to be a similar story to most people. Like it was, I think I'm one after you because I was 5 years old for the '86 World Cup, so I wasn't
Yeah.
very right. But I remember it. I think I was aware that this World Cup thing happened. It was a thing that happened, and I'm not
Yeah.
sure. But Italian '90 was my first World Cup. Italian '90 was
Yeah.
where I had the it was the first sticker album I collected.
Yeah.
I had the middle pages of the Sun on my
Oh, yeah.
on my
With the
wall
fixtures and the
with a
groups and all that.
tournament tree, and you'd write
Yeah.
the goals and who's coming, and you'd look who's playing who, and then I remember sat with my dad. And he explained how the group stages works because I was like,
Yeah.
well, why can't I fill this in? Because I
Yeah.
don't know who's going. And my dad explained, well, the winner of Group One goes to this bit, the runner-up goes to
Yeah.
this bit, and it was like, oh wow. And then it was just that I watch football. I'm a football fan. I grew up in a. Well, I would say I'm not a football fan. I'm a Leeds United fan, so I don't really get to watch much football normally. I'm having a great time at the moment, but this is weird. We don't know what. It's normally like we're just shit. What's going on? So it was great to watch this World Cup, this coming together of nations, but then this different permeations. So sitting down and watching games of countries I don't care about,
Yeah.
watching like Serbia, Bulgaria, oh, but
Was it also learning about geography when you was watching it?
yeah,
I
yeah,
remember
you'd
that
learn
as a
about
kid,
geography and
learning
where the
these
province.
countries you never heard of.
Yeah, but it was stuff like, oh, the really weird stuff you only get in the World Cup. So like, oh, if Serbia win by 2 and
Yeah, the
Germany lose by
mathematics and
1,
all that.
then Germany are out, and you've got all these weird. You're suddenly doing, like you say, you're learning geography through the time, but then you
And
suddenly becoming
maths.
really brilliant at maths and permeations and like. I think
It's
that was the first World Cup. Like when I'm reading your intro, like you say, I mean, it was a World Cup after you, but even though it was one World Cup later, it's still the exact same story, more or
yeah,
less. And
yeah,
that's going to resonate with a lot of people that how emotional the World Cups are.
yeah.
With a World Cup, is it just England, or are you there for everything?
England are the number one team. Obviously, they're my main support. I always have Brazil in reserve. I explain as you get later on in the book. I explain why Brazil's my reserve team. England's always number one, but it is a case of just watching the football because there are some really really good games playing,
Hmm.
and like Russia, 2018, they had some amazing football being played. I was watching teams that I'd never even heard of play just because it was good football.
Well, that's the thing. Like I'll like I said, I'm a Leeds United fan. I'll watch every Leeds game, and everything. But I don't watch any other games in the Championship. I don't watch any games in Premier League. Um, I mean, it's pretty odds on we're going to get promoted. We're going to win the league, unless Leeds do fall apart again. But when we get back to the Premier League, I won't watch Liverpool v Man City or
Yeah,
Liverpool v Everton. I don't care. I just care about Leeds. I'll watch the
yeah,
Leeds games, and I'll look on a Monday. I'll look at or the next morning. I'll look at the fixtures,
yeah.
look at the table once a week, that kind of thing. But when the World Cup run comes around, I'll plan my days around the World Cup. Like, oh, we're going to go shopping on Saturday, and it's like, right, well, we'll go shopping at 11 then. And I was like, oh, well, think about more like 2 o'clock. Like, you can't go at 2 o'clock. Serbia v Bulgaria's on. They kick off at 1. What? Like, we can go at 11 because, depending where it's at, like 6 a.m. to like 8 a.m. till 10 a.m. is Iceland versus North Macedonia,
Yeah.
and it could be like I'm making these things up, but it's completely ridiculous teams like that, and I will watch all of it. I will watch every game if I can, and I don't know, there's something special about the World Cup.
I think it's because it's kind of like it's the pinnacle, it's the best of the best of the best. It's like so you are good. Even crap teams, you're going to get good football.
Hmm.
So, it's entertaining to. If you like football, you're going to like to watch it anyway because you're just going to watch the best teams play.
Yeah, and it's something as well. Like I love I always love an underdog story. It's by
Yeah,
when the FA Cup used to be a thing, because I'm adamant the FA Cup doesn't exist anymore now. But it used to be, you used to enjoy watching, like in the 90s, you watched Match at Day,
yeah,
and it'd be Arsenal going to Slough Town or something, and like the goalkeeper's in a chip shop during week,
right.
and players on a week. So the
Yeah,
BBC would
yeah,
go down and film it, and everyone in the country's cheering on this little team who's got a bricklayer as a striker and a guy who works in a news agency as a midfielder. And I love an underdog story like that. So when you see, I think with the last World Cup, was it an African team got the first African team to get to the semi-final.
yeah,
And I'm proper chuffed for them. I don't support Africa. But I'm like, fucking go on, lads. I'm cheering them on because
yeah.
it's that like that kind of almost Disney-esque Mighty Ducks type story in it that you've got the biggest teams in the world and somehow they've got into the last 16. I think it were actually
Yeah.
first time they got out of the group stage. I think these stories like that on the World Cup can create. Um, and I'm not, how do you feel about them expanding it?
I think it's already getting too big. I really do.
Because it's gone to 64 teams now, hasn't it?
Yeah, yeah.
And it was just like the line you just said there, where you're like, this is the best of the best. It's the pinnacle of football. It's like
You're
they're
gonna have some
kind of
stragglers
diluting
now.
that.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. I'm not sure I like it. And then also, I think is it next World Cup is in Mexico, America, and Canada.
Yeah, they're doing 3 countries, aren't they?
Yeah, it's like that's bizarre. That's it makes anyway. It's all corrupt. It's all corrupt.
Yeah, I
Um,
mean,
but
definitely.
how was researching this then? Because I'm sure like there's not a lot of information on the 1930s
there's,
World Cup.
there's not. I've really had to dig deep. I
Hmm.
mean, I even went to, I found archived foreign newspapers that I had to get translated into English because when the World Cup started, it wasn't big. It was an amateur tournament.
Yeah.
And the only news article I could find in English had a paragraph that said who the winner was. That was it for the entirety of the World Cup, 1930 World Cup. So I had to really dig deep and find all these archive sites and these articles, and I said translate them to English because I had various languages. And yeah, it's a lot of research. And I watched every single World Cup game since it's been televised.
The full
Every
90
single one.
minutes of every
Every
game.
single one. Um, Not always the full 90 minutes because they don't exist. If they existed, yes.
Hmm.
And before then, they had radio shows, that radio news outlets and all that covered the game. So I found old recordings of those. I found old newsreels that used to play at cinemas. Those exist as well.
The old pathos reels and
Yeah,
I
yeah,
mean you must have learned a lot of new researching skills right in this then.
yeah, yeah,
Because
definitely.
I wouldn't even know where to begin on finding them.
Um, I didn't know where to begin. When you start researching, sometimes you just find surface research, and then you just dig a little bit deeper, and then a little bit, and then the next thing you know, you're in a rabbit hole.
Yeah.
You just fall into this hole, and it's there. The information is there. It's just not always easy to find.
It's, yeah, I mean what's the weirdest place you ended up getting research for this World Cup book then? Because
Um, as I said, that those early World Cups, 1930s, pre-war World Cups, um, because it was an amateur tournament, I had to find foreign newspapers, archive newspapers. That was the weirdest thing. So I'm looking at them. I'm going, I can't read this. And it's like, hang on, Google Translate exists.
yeah, it's basically the modern tools we've got now, isn't it? But
Yeah, modern
yeah.
tools made research. I researched the Women's World Cup because very, very lightly covered when it started out.
Mhm.
So that was kind of hard to find stuff on as well.
So does that make this book then the most comprehensive history of the World Cup ever written?
I don't know. I don't know if there are other World Cup books that cover the entirety of the World Cup. I don't know if any of them cover game by game like I have, and every single goal and every single red card ever given. I don't know if anyone's ever done that.
Because I think I just remember like because some of the stuff wasn't even on FIFA's website,
Yeah, some of it isn't on FIFA's website.
which is like it's your World Cup. You can at least have the results on there.
Yeah, and some of the stuff on FIFA's website is wrong. They've got wrong information, wrong people who score goals and stuff. Yeah,
But I think it would. I'd put it the way around there. You'd be like, oh well, that newspaper's got it wrong because
no,
it's a FIFA World Cup. FIFA would know who
yeah,
scored.
no. The information I know they got wrong because I've seen the person score the goal in the newsreel or whatever, and FIFA have got the wrong person.
Have you made FIFA aware of that? Or
Nah.
no, probably not. It's just wonderful knowledge that you've got now. This random pub quiz knowledge.
Yeah.
Um, it's I do find it fascinating because like when I remember in like the first World Cup that you're covering, it covers it's quite a big. Like I just showed there, like the bit that I'm up to 1984 World Cup has got some of the games just a paragraph.
Yeah.
The first one's quite big because it was essentially a brawl, wasn't it? There were no red cards or anything. Or
No, red cards are the card system was introduced in 1970. So they didn't have the card system, but you could send people off for bad sportsmanship. But sometimes you'd send people off, the ref would send people off, and they wouldn't get off. And then that would start a fight. And then the other team members would join in, and then there were actual brawls happening, people being put in hospital. It's insane, some of the fights that happened.
it sounds mad. I'm sat there going, I want to fight. I wish video existed of this. I want to watch this. I'm watching. I had a friend round the other day for I think it was the Liverpool game the other week, and it got a bit testy, and they were not fighting because you don't get them
Yeah,
nowadays, but like having a bit of a push and whatnot.
yeah.
And the commentator went, "Oh, these are not the scenes we want to see." I was like, "Yeah, it fucking is." Like one of my favourite things in football ever is Kevin Keegan and Billy Bremner fighting on the pitch,
Yeah.
just having a full-on fist fight, and then I mean the game they both get sent off. The game carries on, and then the camera just pans over and they're fighting on the way down the tunnel. Like when we're being sent off, we might as well finish this. God, it's like that's the last great fight in football. I think it's like
They don't
don't
show that anymore, do they? When if a fight kicks off, the camera pans to somewhere else.
yeah, it pans to the side. The commentators, oh, these are not the scenes I want to see in the
Yeah.
modern day. Yeah, it is. We're all here to watch this. I want to see him get slotted. Come on. But yeah, it's interesting, like seeing how the game's changed over the years,
Yeah.
and it made me think about modern football. Like I've kind of flippantly said earlier, the FA Cup's not a thing anymore because it's kind of the whole thing of football. It's all money driven now, and it's being desanitized or whatever. You can have those arguments, but then I'll start thinking like, yeah, but football to me was before the Premier League.
Yeah.
That's proper football. That's when football was brilliant. But then if you go back to 1960s or 50s or 30s, they're gonna say, "Well, this is shit. Our football were better."
Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah, is football getting worse, or is it just every football fan has their era?
I think it's the latter. I think we all have our favourite era. I mean, you've got kids now that are going to grow up watching football, and they're going to go, "Oh, this is the best era of football." You know what I mean? And we're going to go, "No, it's not." What are you talking about? But
This is
it is to them, because that's what they grew up with. That's what they've experienced, and it's about witnessing the evolution of the game as well, because you only know that era that you grew up with. So, you don't know. We were watching football before goal line technology and all that kind of crap that people say is ruining the game now.
was that. I remember like growing up, like as a Leeds fan in a family of Leeds fans. We were watching Leeds United, and in the 90s they were brilliant. But I remember my granddad going, oh, these won't have a chance today against Eddie Gray and Peter Lorimer and Speedy Reno. It's like, all right, granddad, yeah. And I've watched those games, and they're good, but it's nothing compared to, 90s are like, they wouldn't stand a chance.
Yeah,
But just like, the 90s, my 90s heroes of, I'm like, oh, yeah, but you had Gary McAllister, Paul Gascoigne, and Vinnie Jones, and all this, like, and it's like, yeah, but they won't stand a chance
yeah,
today.
they wouldn't.
Like football has, take the money and stuff for an argument aside of it, technically and skillfully, it's got so much better.
Yeah, yeah,
So you can argue that but that's been the case all along. The six like my granddad going in the 70s, oh, this Leeds team at 90s, they're good, but they won't stand a chance against Leeds team at 70s. Like, they get battered.
yeah,
Just like the Leeds team at 90s won't be able to do it against this team. So yeah, I think it's quite. I think nostalgia has a part to play in it. That football's so visceral and emotional that you're connected deeply to that era. Um, did you find that right in the book that you've got this connection to '84 with being your first World Cup
yeah.
more than
It
any
was.
other?
It was. Even though that the '86 Mexico '86 was my first World Cup, I'd say that with you, like Italia '90, that was like the first one. I was a teenager then, so
Yeah.
that was the first one when I was like having a cheeky little drink. That felt like my first proper World Cup. But yeah, I mean, it's. I think that you've got to take into account the fact that, as you said, the game has evolved so much, and technically it's so much better now. But I still love that early stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. I don't know. Like and I think going back to like the expansion 64 teams, and I don't think I could get away with watching that for 4 weeks.
no, I'm starting to fall out of love with the World Cup, to be honest.
Yeah,
At least the men's side.
yeah, and I'm finding it just a bit. Yeah, I'll watch. I'll watch. Oh, that's on. I'll have it in the background maybe.
I'm
But
still going to support England, but
yeah,
I
I'll still,
don't
I'll
think
still
I'm going
support
to be
England and watch it. But it's
watching
just
it as
that
much.
kind of. I don't think there's that desire to catch every minute of every game, and Um, I think that's gone now. But do you have a favourite World Cup of all time then, or is it Italian '90 or?
Um, I don't know. I don't know if I really. I mean, retrospectively researching it, I was quite surprised at some of the information I found about the '66 World Cup,
Such as?
such as some underhanded play going on that England may not have deserved the win.
Hmm.
So I never knew all of this before because I've only ever known, the highlights of the finals. England won. Way we won. Great.
Yeah, they think it's all over.
Did
It
we
is now.
deserve
Yeah.
it? I don't think we did deserve it.
Well,
So I kind of find these stories more interesting. These ones that you kind of going, maybe we didn't deserve to win. So I like the '66 World Cup purely because of what I learned from it.
mm. I think mine personally is the South Korea.
Yeah,
Um, I remember being quite pissed off at that World Cup because all the games were kicking off at like 5 in the morning and
yeah,
1 in the morning. I was like, this is bollocks. I'm supposed to be watching this and I can't do that. And it ended up being one of the best World Cups ever. Um, and I remember quite vividly um, watching the game in the pub, like because the pubs were allowed to open at like 8 a.m.
yeah,
for the game and stuff. And I'd been out the night before. I'd been out all day, watched all three games, then stayed out.
yeah.
um, and a friend I'd not seen for about 6, 7 years woke me up on the wall outside my local leisure centre. I was just asleep on the wall outside my local leisure. She's woke me up like, "Are you okay? Are you fine?" I'm like, "Oh yeah, yeah, yeah." Oh shit, why am I sleeping on a wall? Like what time is it? And she was like, "Oh, it's 10 to 8." And all right, do you want to go for a pint? She went, "No, it's 10 to 8." I went, "Yeah, but someone saw kick off in 10 minutes.
Football's on.
Football's on, come on." And we went to the pub and did that day. And I think that went on like 3 days in a row. It was just like that. And like that was an amazing World Cup. I
Yeah,
absolutely loved it because it felt a bit naughty
yeah,
because you're going to the pub at 8 a.m. and like if you crack open a can at 8 a.m. like, "You all right? Is everything okay? You
yeah.
shouldn't be drinking at 8 a.m." And then, but you're like, "Yeah, but football's on, it's allowed. Come on, we've got to make the most of it while we can." And I think that's why one of my favourite World Cups was it felt you were being a bit mischievous, a little bit wrong because you're going to the pub at 8 a.m.
Yeah, I remember watching a few games in the wee early hours with a pint.
Yeah, it's like the airport, innit? You go to the airport at 3 a.m. You've got to get
Yeah,
a
for your
pint.
flight. Yeah,
8 a.m. You've got to get a pint. It's the law to get that airport pint. Like time doesn't exist
yeah,
on that side. I think it was the same with the World Cup. But I think like yeah, when it was Qatar, I think that's when I kind of fell out of love with it. When Qatar got it, and I was like, that makes no sense at all. And
yeah. It they don't have a football history, do they?
they don't have a football league.
Yeah.
They
Do you
don't have
know,
a professional league. So how do you get a World Cup?
I know it's the World Cup, and you should say every country has a right to host it, but you should at least have countries that have a history of football and an infrastructure there, and had none of that.
Yeah, and they've also got rid of the rules around awarding it as well, which I thought were always quite fair. So it used to work, and I'm sure this rule's gone now, but it used to work that it was be held in Europe,
Yeah,
and then it'd be held on one of the
yeah,
other continents, and then
yeah.
back in Europe. So it was, and the idea was because the biggest teams in the world, the majority of them
In
were in
Europe.
Europe,
Yeah,
and the majority of football fans and revenue is in Europe. So it were, if you have it in Germany or France, it's only an hour or two difference. It's
yeah,
fine for majority of the world watching it, and then oh, it's in Africa. We have a time zone, but then it allows. And this thing's well, it used to be like it goes to Africa. Well, that allows a massive cash injection, an
yeah.
economic boost to the country, and they can, it builds roads, it builds infrastructure, it has a lasting legacy. But then we saw with Brazil that don't happen anymore.
No,
Like Brazil, they knocked down shanty towns to build stadiums,
yeah,
and then the stadium just got abandoned afterwards. Like you've got a country that's ridiculously poor, and the World Cup made it poorer.
football's huge in Brazil as well.
Yeah, and it was. I think the Budweiser thing in Brazil was one of the things for me as well that Brazil has a law that because of fighting and gangs and stuff, they have a law that alcohol can't be served in sporting arenas.
Right.
And FIFA, about 2 months before the about 2, 3 months before the World Cup started, Brazil spent all this money it don't have on building all these stadiums, smashing down shanty towns and making poor people even more homeless than they are already. And then FIFA went, oh no, if you don't change the law, because Budweiser are a big sponsor of the World Cup, if you don't change the law for Budweiser to be sold in stadiums, we're taking the World Cup off you.
Yeah.
So they had to change the law to allow it to, and then I think it was the day after the final, they repealed the new change in the law back to normal. And like that showed me that it isn't about countries and culture and the world come together. It's like this is just corporate interest now.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's why I've kind of fallen out of love with it. There's loads of little reasons like that, going to Qatar and changing that rule where it went continent Europe. So now we've got this ridiculous thing where it's in 3 countries. Like, what's the time difference gonna be on those games?
I have no idea.
Yeah, I don't know what the time difference is between Mexico and Canada. Like, if you've got a game going off in Mexico and then one going off in, like, there's 4 different time zones in America, isn't there?
Yeah.
So you're gonna be like a day. You got one at 8 a.m. and one at 1 a.m. the next day or something.
I have no idea how they're going to. I haven't even looked into this new World Cup to see how it's all organised. And
yeah, there's a lot. Like I said, going back to like I don't watch much football now because of all these reasons. Money's not. I don't understand the new Champions League.
right.
I saw it the other day. It came up the other day, and it's just like 70 teams or something in a big league, and you play each other 4 times. Like I don't understand that. No interest in learning. It's gone. Just turn it over. I'm done. Anyway, we're getting off topic from your books there. This is a brilliant book, and like I say, it's the only one I've not finished. But I am up to 84, 86, I think I was at. But it's one of them. It's different from all your books because this is completely factual.
Yeah.
So, like I say, I showed there each game's got a paragraph. It's not. It's hard to read. I'm not selling it well here, but it's not a book like this. You can sit down with this and read this in one go. Microbrits, I wouldn't recommend reading it in one go. You need to read it, absorb it, read it, absorb it. But with a World Cup book, it is a case of I'll pick it up, read 2 or 3 pages, and then put it back down again.
Because it's so much information, isn't it?
It is information
constant.
overload.
I tried to break up with a little bit of humour here and there, but it's just so much information.
How long did that take you to research and write them? Because it is your biggest book today, isn't it?
Yeah. I can't remember. It's like, I reckon it's probably about 3 years, 3.5 years from when I came up with the idea to it being published. And I've had to watch all the World Cups, every game and so on. So yeah, it was a while.
How did you manage to fit in watching every game possible for the World Cup? Like, did you have a really understanding why?
Well, the thing is, it's only 90 minutes a game, innit? If you think about, well, extra time and so on, but you can easily watch 1, 2, 3 games a day. You can skip the introductions. You don't have to go through any of that. You don't have to watch the pitch. You don't have to watch the national anthem. You can just get from the kickoff straight to the final whistle. So you can trim a lot out of what you'd normally watch. So yeah, you can watch like I said, 2 or 3 games a day easy.
Yeah, I can imagine. So I had this vision in my head where your wife just goes, "Steve, come on." Coronation Street starts in 20 minutes. It's like, yeah, but it's Bulgaria, Serbia from 1986. I've got to watch it. It's for my book. I'm researching. And she's like, your wife's I've got this vision. Your wife's out there going, "You're not even writing a book, are you? You're just watching football." Yeah, you're using an excuse. These books never coming out.
That's what I mean. I did most of the watching it on my laptop anyway. So just if I had a spare bit of time, watch a bit of football with a laptop, and you just squeeze it in as and when you can.
Is it you're watching like the full 90 minutes and stuff of every game? Why are you doing that? Like, wouldn't it make more sense to watch like the 5-minute highlight footage rather than 90-minute?
Yeah, but the highlights don't get everything, do they? I mean, there might be a little instant that the highlight doesn't pick up. The highlights really just concentrate on the goals, don't they?
Yeah, I was sort of thinking, like, you can get a 2-1 game and it shows you a couple of shots
Yeah,
from each side and the goals. You don't get a sense of one side dominated or
exactly. Yeah,
one side
you
played
just
well
get
and
the
then
result.
countered and got lucky. It's
Yeah,
yeah, it only makes sense watching the full 90 minutes. It's a really interesting book, and I think I like this one because it's something I could never do. We're going back to earlier. We were saying like, everyone, oh, I want to be an author. I just decided I'm going to write a book and I'm going to
yeah,
self-publish it. The tools we have today, you can do it, and like the modern tools with having Google Translate meant you could write this one and stuff. And he's like, well, I could probably write a book, and I'd write on the. We both have our own websites where I write game reviews and stuff. Like, fancy my hand at writing. I could probably write a book or a novel or something, but I could not research that. That is just like, yeah, I could never do that one. I have a lot of appreciation for it, for the
yeah. But I mean,
dedication and the work to it.
it's all the time frame. Then if you've got like 4 years and you're researching a book, you're just doing a little bit at a time. You're not continually research for that 4 years. You're just doing a little bit here, a little bit there. It just all mounts up.
But it must have been difficult to research when, like, going back to your process early. So you've got book one that's 80% of your time,
Yeah,
and then there's going to be a period where this was book two. So you've got 20% of your, like 18% of your time on this one.
yeah, yeah.
So I can see that being, that's fine. It's a nice break from book one and going back. Once this becomes 80% of your time, did that become a slog to write and research, or we just
No,
passionate about it? It flew.
no, that's why I have the secondary book there, because I've done so much World Cup. I'll take a break. I'll do this book now. It's always good. That's why I always have at least 2 books on the go, because you do get bored of researching the same thing, and you do need a break. So
Yeah, I suppose
it's handy.
when that boredom sits in, then that affects the quality of your writing. That
Yeah,
affects your attention and the quality of your writing. You just trying to get it done rather than give it the attention it needs.
yeah.
Yeah. It's really interesting. I mean, it's a fascinating project, and I think you're absolutely mental for even thinking of it, and insane for completing it. In the nice, that's a compliment that I made, by the way.
I know. Yeah, I can't believe that I actually did it. To be honest with you,
It is an achievement, isn't it? It's a massive achievement. But you're now writing a bigger book, I believe.
it's so big I've had to split it into 2.
This is your first two-parter.
This is my first 2-part. Yeah,
So is it going to come out as part one, then part two a few months later, or a year later,
it's
or they
going to be
both
more
come
than
out
a few
together?
months. I think it's definitely going to be more. Part one's going to be done. I'm aiming for the next 3 months. It'll be published between 3.5 months. It'll be out. Um, but I wrote the book originally as one huge book, so part 2 already exists in the first draft. I've still got a lot of more research, a lot tied up to do, but part 2 already exists. So I don't know the time frame when it's going to be ready, to be honest, because I originally planned part 1 would be out at the start of this year, like January this year, and it's not gonna. It's going to take me another couple of months.
It's going to be like middle of the year.
And I thought that part 2 would be like late summer, so that's not going to happen. It might be next year before part 2 comes out.
Because we were talking, about the research you've done here. When you announced this book, I actually went back and watched all this myself.
Yeah.
So we've been pussyfooting around it. Do you want to say what the new book is? Because I absolutely love it.
The new book is a complete history of Gordon Ramsay's kitchen nightmares. Every single episode. But it also looks into what happened after the camera stopped rolling. It looks into what the restaurants and the owners have been up to now, and a load of other stuff. some cheeky stuff along the way.
Why did you choose Kitchen Nightmares? What was the inspiration for going? Were you watching it one day and went, I can write a book about this, or did you get angry about something? And
I was watching the Fenwick Arms episode. You remember the one in the pub with Brian, the old fella with the beard?
The carvery in the church.
No, not that one. No.
The dude that has like a million plates.
Yes.
Yeah.
Him.
Right. Yeah.
I watched that episode. It was on TV. It was in the afternoons. It was the censored version, so there's no swearing or anything. But I watched it, and when it finished, because I've always liked Brian, I thought he was a top fella.
Yeah.
A
I
little bit insane, but top
Yeah,
fella.
but I was really pissed off when he had all his stuff smashing his plates in the
Yeah,
car park. I'm like, fuck
yeah.
you. Like, yeah. Oh
Anyway,
well.
I watched that episode and I was like, I wonder what happened to Brian. And then I just got on the internet and I found a couple of sites that had some information, and not a lot, but a little bit of information. And then I found some information that these sites didn't have. And I thought, hang on a minute, I found research that these guys don't have. And so I was like, I'm going to watch another episode. And I watched another episode and I was like, oh, what did this guy get up to? And I looked into this and I found more research. And the next thing I know, I'm writing a book.
Just your natural curiosity ends up in a
Yeah.
book, and then next thing you know, it's a two-part book and the
It's
biggest
a
thing you've ever
two-part book
written.
because I finished the first draft. I wasn't paying attention to the word count, the page count, or anything like that. And I got to the end of the first draft. It was just over 600,000 words. And I was like, I can't publish this as one book.
No,
It's not going to happen.
you were taking the piss with this one. You
I
can't.
was thinking, yeah, the World Cup book's over 330,000. So, yeah, I was like, I can't do this as one book. This is going to be huge.
See, I
And this was pre-editing as well. I'm going to put more information in.
I love you told me that idea because you were a bit coy at first and saying you got a new book, you wouldn't say what it was, and then when you were ready to tell me, and I think it was like 4 or 5 days later, I messaged you and went, just finished all the
Yeah,
UK episodes.
yeah,
We've not started watching the American ones yet, but like we've watched all the UK episodes. I'm like, oh no, we're in between. I'll message you going, just watch this, and then we're talking about, oh, I like this and this about this episode. Well, actually, I
yeah.
found this out,
A
and
little bit of information.
yeah, because I remember the one, yeah, it was October time, September, October time. I watched them when you told me because I just watched the episode with the place in Blackpool.
Yeah,
And I went, oh, if this, we should see if this place is open when we're in Blackpool for
yeah,
Expo.
yeah.
We'll go visit it. And you went, nah, that went. And
I
that
know.
guy's in prison. Now, they
Yeah,
didn't
I know.
mention this in the show. Like, oh, that's why they didn't mention
That
that.
behind the scenes story of why he's, yeah,
And we found that weird. I told my wife that straight away. Because, like, my wife watched it with me and she got right into it. And when we were watching it, and they come back, and I can't remember the guy's name. Let's just say Paul or whatever. And, like, Gordon really likes him.
yeah, really good chef.
Really good shit. And then Gordon comes back like a month later and he's like, oh, well, where's Paula? And like, oh, Paul's gone. I'm like,
Very caging it.
yeah.
The
He's like, oh,
response.
Paul's gone. He's like,
Just
oh,
leave
that's a
it
shame. And then carries on. And it's like, no, every other time he goes like, what do you mean he's gone? Where is it? I'll go get them back
there.
or whatever. How have you lost him? And he just goes, oh, he's gone. Okay then. And moves on. It's like, that's weird.
Yeah, yeah.
That were weird. And then when I messaged you and you went, oh no, it was
This is why he's gone.
this is why he's gone. And you were like, that makes sense why they didn't mention it on the show.
Well, that's what this book was really about. It's about what happened after the cameras finished filming, and
You spoke
yeah,
to
I've looked
quite
up
a few
some
people as well, aren't you?
very interesting. Yeah, I've got in contact with people who've been on the show, and they've contributed a few words about some of the behind the scenes stories, some very interesting stuff. Yeah,
Is it?
it's been really good.
I don't want to spoil anything in the book, obviously, because I want people to go out and buy it. But is it a generally positive feeling of being on the show or a negative one?
Mix.
Is it
It's a mix.
mixed?
Yeah. I mean, I got Mama Cherry. You remember Mama Cherry
Mama
from the
Cherry, the
Soul Food Chat?
Brighton,
Yeah.
yeah, she was a wonderful woman who didn't quite realise what she was doing. I
No.
think a lot of the time.
Really good cook. Didn't know anything about business.
Mm-hmm.
She's contributed to the book and she's full of praise for Gordon and the show. Absolutely jam packed full of it. Absolutely loves him. Told me a few behind the scenes stories that didn't make the cut. But yeah, she's full of praise. But the other people I've spoken to that absolutely hate Gordon and the show. I mean, really hate him.
Yeah, because this is going to bring it along to editing. Like some of the shows on episodes I'm looking like it depends how it's what you filmed and what goes out on TV could be two
Yeah.
completely different things.
Yeah.
They can edit you to look inept and look
Exactly.
crap.
Yeah.
And someone who's
Gordon, it's edited to make Gordon look great. Let's just say that.
Yeah.
Because it's his show.
So there's going to be some that are going to feel misrepresented.
Yeah.
And stuff. And I know there's a few that have said if they'd have known it were called Kitchen Nightmares, they wouldn't have even applied,
They
to be
wanted
honest.
it there because it didn't have a title when they did the first series. Yeah,
It was something like Gordon Saves
yeah, is it
Restaurants or something
kitchen
like that.
rescues and stuff like that? Yeah,
And then when they didn't know it would like, our program's on here.
yeah,
What's it called? Kitchen Nightmare. Like they first found out when it was advertised. Like,
yeah.
so I can see that. But you also, I've seen a sneak peek of the book of part one, and you love ripping the editing to bit, don't you?
Yeah, yeah.
I can see this is. I won't call it a pet peeve, more of a hobby.
It's basically become a running gag
Hmm.
in throughout the book that are called editing shenanigans, where you're watching it and Gordon be wearing like, I don't know, say a white shirt, and then it'll cut to someone else and it'll come back to Gordon. He's wearing a completely different shirt. This isn't the same day.
Yeah,
The show's telling you it is, but it isn't. And there's a lot of that in the book. There's a lot of editing that you can clearly tell is done to make Gordon look good.
well, there's one episode I remember reading from the sample. Try not to give too much away, but I want to entice people that read it as well at the same time. But there's one episode I've read in the book where you go into detail about this editing and
Yeah,
it's a shirt. I think it is a shirt where you're
yeah,
like, he's wearing this shirt, then he's wearing this one, and
yeah.
you go into quite a bit of detail. This is obviously not the same day, and this is why, and this is what I'm thinking, blah 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 blah. And then later on in that same episode, you say something, it's like, and Gordon comes and does such and such. And then in bracket just says blue shirt this time.
Yeah,
Brackets white shirt this time.
yeah,
And it looked like that. You set the gag up and then you just point that out. You're
yeah.
like, well, I'm talking about, just going to point this out.
It's definitely a book that you're going to have to read from cover to cover because
Hmm.
I set things up in one chapter and then I pay off in another. So there's loads of, like, you've read my books and I do little crossovers and little references and things like that. There's a lot of that in this.
Yeah, because I was going to ask, is it going to be? Well, I was going to ask before, but I've seen the sample now. Like in the World Cup book, it is very game, game, game,
Yeah,
game.
yeah,
Is it going to be? And I suppose Games Master, the complete history of Games Master,
yeah,
is episode, episode,
yeah.
episode.
Episode, yeah.
Does this have a running theme through it, or is it just an editorial theme through it?
It's, I suppose it's more editorial, really. The way the book's set up, I mean, obviously you've read the rough draft of the first series. I go through the episode and I do a detailed highlights of every episode. So the idea is that you can watch the episode and you've got the book and you're flicking through the book and you're watching and you're going, you notice I've written something like an edit, and then you're watching the show, you go, oh yeah, there's that edit he's mentioned. So I've written it so that you can have the show on while you're reading the book. So we'll cover every episode and then it goes into what happened after.
Hmm.
And it goes into, if I've managed to contact people, they tell me their side of the story. I offer my opinion on what I think of the story. And then every chapter then ends with me reviewing every episode. And the reason I've done that is because review is legally allowed under fair use.
Right.
Because I don't want Gordon coming after me.
Yeah. He's. I think he's brought a few cases in the past, hasn't he?
Yeah.
I've not heard of any for a while, so he used. I don't want him to come after me either, but he used to be quite litigious.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if he is anymore,
Yeah.
but I don't
I
want to risk it.
there are things that I suggest in the book without outright saying, on whether the show is, shall we say, manufactured.
I think it is that kind of. It's got one foot in reality TV, hasn't it?
Yeah, and some of it isn't reality
Yeah, I get a sense some of it's staged and.
because it's a TV show and it's meant to be entertaining. That's
Yeah.
what it's there to do.
I mean, I've not watched the American series.
Yeah.
It is on my list to watch before the book comes out, so I know I've got 3 months to do that. But it's, I don't know, I hate. We used to watch. What was the show he did on Kitchen Nightmares? The show he did where he had 2 teams of chefs and he'd kick one off every week.
House Kitchen.
Hell's Kitchen, that's the one.
Yeah.
Right? And talk about editing. American editing annoys me.
Oh, the American shows are awful. The British shows are bad editing, but the American shows are bloody awful.
I mean, it is one of my old man shouts at cloud moments. Is like American TV is when you've got like a 20-minute block of TV, then your adverts, then a 20-minute block of TV, then your
Yeah,
adverts.
yeah.
But you have the first 20-minute block, have your adverts, and then 5 minutes of the next 20-minute block is a
And
recap
then
of
the
what I've
advert.
just watched.
Yeah, yeah,
Like
yeah.
it's, I don't mind if it's like previously on such and such, like last week,
But you just watched it
because
2 minutes ago.
but it's the same fucking episode. You've shown me 3 adverts, and now you're giving me a 10-minute recap. Like, what is the attention span of Americans? Is this because it's not just Hell's Kitchen? It's every American show
Yeah, yeah,
does this, and I think it's kind of why we put off watching it. I think, and then we are just gonna watch it on demand, and then
yeah.
just fast forward through the updates. So like an hour long episode is going to take like 33 minutes to
Well,
watch.
there's two different versions. There's the original US broadcast, and then there's the UK broadcast. And the UK broadcast is slightly edited better. Not brilliant, but better. A little bit.
Right, so is it going to be worth watching both, or do I might watch the English edit and then
I'd,
read your
I'd,
book?
I'd watch the English edit. The English edits are the ones that I've covered in the book
Right.
because I couldn't stand the American ones.
No, just the American editing annoys me. It does my nutting. But yeah, we used to enjoy Hell's Kitchen. It was just I think it's that thing like Gordon Ramsay is quite entertaining.
Yeah,
He's a really good chef, an amazing chef.
yeah. Bloody good businessman.
Yeah, but also really entertaining to watch on TV as well.
But this book, it also brings up some of his quotes and some of the arguments, and I'll get all them down. So there's a good mix of factual stuff and a bit of comedy and a bit lightheartedness because Gordon has some good quips.
Yeah,
He does.
I remember one of the bits my wife pointed out when we watched the UK version was once every episode he gets topless for no reason.
Yeah.
he's he's getting ready for shit. Oh, I'm gonna go on. I'm on shift tonight. I'm your commis chef.
Yeah.
You take charge of me. And
But
he's like, but he's talking like before the shift starts, like, oh, he's got to really pull through tonight. He's going to show me what he's made of. And like,
yeah.
you could do that anywhere in the restaurant and like do a piece to camera, but it's always him taking his top off and putting his chef jacket on, and he's like, is it in your contract that you've got to get? And it's not. It doesn't have amazing abs, He's not sculpted. He's a general dad bod kind of thing, isn't it? But my wife just found it hilarious that once an episode he gets topless for no reason.
Yeah, all the time. But he's done another show called Hotel Hell, and he does that, but he strips off completely. You see his arse in some of the shots. It's in the shower naked and all that. What are you doing?
So which out of the? So I say I've only watched the UK ones. Which is your favourite episode from the UK one then that you've
favourite from the UK one? It's got to be the Soul Food Shack, just because I love Mama Cherry.
Yeah, she's amazing. We adore Mama
Awesome,
Cherry.
absolutely love her.
And the one of those bits as well, like he always does. It's quite formulaic.
Yeah,
in the episodes. He comes in, he has a meal, he slags
Didn't
it
like it.
Then he does. He'll do a new menu, and he'll take some of their stuff and some of his new stuff, and they'll go out on the street.
Yeah.
And ask people what the third. I'll take this out. How much will you pay for this? And I think that Mama Cherry one she was just amazing on Brighton Beach.
Yeah. And she's doing that barbecue.
Yeah, she's doing the barbecue, and she's just, normally they're stopping people in the street, and they're like, no, thanks, what are you doing your way there? She's just got a crowd in.
Yeah.
And it's like, she's got a really infectious personality. I absolutely love her.
Yeah. As I said, I've been in contact with her, and she's an absolute darling. She really is.
I think one of my favourite ones after that, that is one of my favourites because of Mama Cherry. I think the other one was the carvery in the church.
Yeah, Priory.
Just because they condemned the entire kitchen. And that guy did not have a clue what he was doing, that chef.
Yeah. Toby the chef.
Yeah, it's just like, what the fuck is this?
Yeah. That's a good one, that one.
So how long does it take you to write this then? Since it's ended up being your biggest book and ended up into 2 pieces, how long have you been working on this one?
Well, obviously, I haven't even. I've got draft of second half done, but that's still going to be a hell of a lot of work to do that. But this first draft, I reckon I've probably been at it about a year and a half to this point, and it's still a few months away from being ready. So the whole book, I don't know yet. I don't know till I finish it. But
It's
it's a big one.
it's about, but I'm looking forward to it. Like I just again, it's off topic for like say you do your gaming genre. So you kind of like I don't know if you could say you're a gaming genre author because you've done as many non-gaming as you have gaming now. I think.
Yeah, I just write. You know,
But then also I mean, how do you find the time? Because you know, quite prolific in the amount of books you've released and the ones you've got coming out still. And then you also write for you run little bits of gaming.com.
yeah, yeah,
So that's most, and a lot of people like we both review games. I run Stoffel presents.co.uk. You run little bits of gaming.com. But people are like, oh yeah, we tend to focus on indie games, both of us, because we going back to Microbrits, we adore that kind of bedroom gamer type thing. But even then, that's still, you've got to play 15,
play the
20
game.
hours of a game
Yeah.
before you can write a review on it. And
Well, I think it's because I've gotten better at writing, and I've gotten faster at writing. I've gotten better at editing, and it's kind of become a second nature now. I mean, going back to Microbrits, that probably felt like it took me longer to do than the World Cup book.
hmm
Even though the World Cup book's like 5 times the size of it,
but you've got your
because
process now, and you've got your
yeah,
the
because I've
way you go
gotten
about
so
it.
much better at getting the book together and getting the formatting done and editing and researching, and I've kind of got into a rhythm of it now. So, and that even goes back to doing the blog. I find it so much easier now to write a review than I did when I started doing it.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. I've been doing it about what's 7, 8 years now, and I can once I've played the game and I've got my notes, I can smash a review out
Yeah,
in no time. Whereas it used to take days of
yeah, exactly. Yeah,
writing, rechecking, writing, draft, make sure it was right, and then now it's just like, no, I've got more confidence in myself. I've got better at it. I can sit and knock something out, and some of my editorials, I was saying earlier, my editorials can take like a week to write and stuff.
yeah,
I've written
definitely.
editorials that have taken 20 minutes.
Yeah,
I've had an idea, sat down and just gone blah at my keyboard, gone through, tidied it up, and gone, yeah, that's done. That's
yeah. Well, I used to keep account of how many words I'd write a day. And I was impressed with like 500 a day. I thought, yeah, that's not too bad. I've done 500 a day. I'm doing thousands a day now. I'm doing like 3,000 a day, 4,000 a day now. And it just feels so much more natural.
that's more than most big writers.
Yeah.
I know
But
one of my favourite authors is Ben Aronovich,
yeah,
who does the Rivers of London series, and he pops up on Facebook all the time on his own account. He's like daily word count 300.
yeah,
Today's word count. Oh, I had a really good day today, 800 words, and it's like
yeah,
that's that's 5 minutes. That's 10 minutes.
yeah.
But it is you don't see the research and stuff in it,
No, exactly. Yeah.
and then he's a fiction author as well. So there's a bit I find funny where he's got his structure and his narrative that he's writing. But when he's writing, his characters like he put some on the other week. He was writing a bit, and he just said like they weren't supposed to go there and do that, but they just decide to set off on their
Yeah.
own.
Yeah. No,
But
I've had that. Yeah. When your characters kind of take over.
yeah, because you know them so well and you're writing them, and they've just gone, well, fuck, how do I get them back from there now? Like, they've just gone off themselves, and I find that quite interesting. Um, but yeah, so that's Kitchen Nightmares is coming about 3 months, you reckon? 3.5 months?
3.5 months. Yeah.
Is that going to be on Amazon again as well, or
Yeah.
is that like another thing I was going as well because a lot of people don't understand as well is because you self-publish on Amazon, you design your own covers as well.
Yeah.
So you've got to be a graphic designer as well as a.
I'm nothing like a graphic designer. That's why my book covers are simple. That's the gaming books that follow that master system template because it's easy.
Well,
Yeah,
no, I get it. I knew when you first did that because like micro Brits, like we've got here, like we've got three
yeah.
different covers for micro Brits. So we've got like there's a nice little
The
cover
original
there, the original, and then you went for this like really nice. I like this nostalgic style, like a loading
loading
screen
screen. Yeah,
with a loading font and everything, which is great. And then you did like say you went for the Mars. This is the old Mars system covers, And like I said, this is really simple. You can
Yeah.
save this, and then do your next gaming book gets it.
Yeah.
So we've got 66 games, and then you've got Games Master here. Ooh, got Games Master here, so it's really
The
simple.
unfinished Games Master.
Pardon?
The unfinished Games Master.
Well, I will a little peek. So we're good friends. I've mentioned that I've got the sample to the Kitchen Nightmares book, and you often send me it quite early. This is one of my favourite covers, right? Because I think is it missing a pair of trousers off the front or something?
It's missing at the end of Series 2 Games Master, which was on an oil rig. The oil rig exploded. So I've recreated that on the cover.
Yeah.
And it's got a pair of pants flying out.
My favourite bit is the back of this.
Yeah.
Because it just says, back in blurb will go here.
Yeah.
It's just blank. I love it. But what's saying like this, I know I get why you did this because it's simple and it makes design the covers easier.
Yeah.
But I love it because when you've got them all on the shelf,
right,
with this little Sega font with your name and stuff, it looks brilliant. It looks like a fantastic set of books, and it's very nostalgic. It reminds me of having my Master System games on the shelf and all lined up.
Yeah.
So I think that was a genius idea. I love that.
As I said, that came about because I'm not a graphic artist. It was just about making it as simple as possible. And you can put a grid up, you can put some words up, you can have a little bit of clip art because that's what the Master System games were.
Yeah.
A little bit of clip art.
Because I like I've seen I think you shared the cover for Kitchen Nightmares.
Yeah, I've been playing around with it. Yeah.
Which I expect it to be different by the time it comes out because I know you're going to play about it and stuff.
The title of the book is Gordon and Ramsay Screaming an Insult.
Yeah, I love it. That little, it's an amazing little cover you've done.
So it's Gordon. The cover is very much Gordon Ramsay's face shouting at you.
So this will be available on Amazon again, won't it?
Yeah,
I mean, like everything else. And anyone interested in any of these books, it is just Amazon.
You can search my name.
S.L Perrin. Just search S.L Perrin and the whole set comes up. Although your marketing for Blackpool was wonderful.
Yeah,
I did enjoy that. We were talking about your marketing earlier for the Stop the Presses, your Birmingham Live Story. Your T-shirt was genius for Blackpool.
This one.
Oh yeah, you've got it on there, yeah. So basically, what it is Steve's T-shirt was an idea to sell. When you're talking to people in Blackpool, you're meeting people. Oh yeah, I've got my books. Oh, where can I find your books? Oh, you go on Amazon, search my name, and people are going to forget that when they go away.
Yeah.
So you've got the 4 covers of your gaming books with a QR code.
Yep.
You're like, oh, where do I find your book from? Just go there, mate. Scan that. Scan my tit. There we are. You can buy a copy again. That is genius. Quite a few people stole that idea when we were out there, didn't they?
Yeah, I know. Yeah.
And I'm looking at like, fine, you're nicking his idea, but at least buy a book. Like they're not that expensive. A lot of them.
Nah, but they're considering the size, they should be more expensive. But I like giving people value for money, you know.
Because what's the big one, the World Cup one is probably the most expensive one, but that's just because of weight and size.
Yeah, I think it's 20, 26, 20, 27 quid for the paperback, which isn't bad considering how big it is.
Cheap. That is
cheap. And it's more expensive for the hardback, obviously, but yeah.
Yeah, because I paid. Mind you, it was on Kickstarter. I just bought Kim Justice's new book.
Yeah.
Which I think comes out soon. But that was on Kickstarter, and I think that was 30 quid.
Yeah.
But being the tight Yorkshireman I am, I messaged her and said, "Oh, just backed your book on Kickstarter." Oh no, I just didn't message her private. I replied to a tweet. And went, just backed it on Kickstarter, but because I'm a tight Yorkshireman, I bought the 30 quid one. No point buying the 40 quid signed one. I'll just bring it to Blackpool.
Yeah.
You can sign it for me. But no, I think we've been going for 2 hours now, and I think we've.
Have we?
Yeah.
Yeah, we have.
I think we've covered everything.
Yeah.
I think. Anything we've missed? Anything you want to mention?
No, I don't think so. I mean, my follow-up to my book of deaths will be out soon, like within the next few weeks. Because I'm just doing the final draft now. And yeah, the Kitchen Nightmares book, couple of months, 2.5 months.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, obviously we'll share the links. That we'll put all the links to your Amazon page. We'll put the links to your Amazon page and to Little Bits of Gaming, um, which I absolutely love. And I love that even though we both do essentially the same thing, we're not rivals in this at all. We're
No, we're not.
more supportive. And I was like, most recently you did I mean, recently it was a bit back now. You did a whole thing on the Crow.
Oh yeah, the retrospective. Yeah.
Yeah, your retrospectives are brilliant, by the way. I do really enjoy them. But please go check out littlebitsofgaming.com just for the Rage Bait article on Rolling Stone.
Yeah.
That is fantastic. And also, actually, one of the quite important one, I think one of the most important things you've ever written, and I think it's the best one. Like emotionally, it sent me on a journey emotionally. Was
Oh yeah,
why
from this
Bob
year.
Marley was an idiot.
Yeah, yeah,
That
that was a bit emotional. That was.
yeah, I'm not going to ruin what that were about, but I think that is possibly your greatest writing to date. That sent me on a right roller coaster, but it was beautifully written as well.
Yeah,
It was that was a wordsmith writing that, not an author.
that
But
that
thank
was that was very very personal.
it was. I appreciate you writing it. It's a message that everyone should read and understand. And even if you did get told off by your mum afterwards for it.
Yeah,
Right. But yeah, thank you very much for your time, Stairman. I
thank
really
you, sir.
appreciate it. And yeah, we're going to put all the links to Amazon and to Little Bits of Gaming in the comments below. And thank you very much for your time. See you there.